Chapter 117. On Sunday afternoon, Yan Xiaoling was still lying in bed, but she had changed her posture. She chose to sit back and put her laptop on her lap. Brahman, are you sure? She glanced at the laptop, took out her phone and quickly sent a message to Brahman. Brahman said with an emoji of the biggest joke in the world, anyway, that lush self-generating light just posted that Qidao video website has a live broadcast and bought the copyright from Songqing TV station. She even got the trailer before, so this kind of small thing shouldn't be wrong, right? It's so annoying. The website is so laggy and slow. It hasn't buffered yet. After hearing Brahman's words, Yan Xiaoling, who had just woken up, continued to look for the live broadcast on Qidao video website. After a few minutes, she finally found the words, Hongluo Martial Arts School vs Songqing University Martial Arts Club, in the corner of the preliminaries subpage. There were also 2 entries for TV station commentator and website commentator. Yan Xiaoling's hand slipped and chose website commentator. After a long buffering time, she finally saw the tatami-covered ground of the martial arts school. She saw the members of Songqing University Martial Arts Club walking out in a line and kneeling separately. She saw the leader, Lu Cheng. The broadcasting rights of the first stage of the preliminaries were sold by the organizing committee to the TV station of each division, and the TV station took back part of the funds from the video website. The funds that flowed to the organizing committee would eventually be used to pay for the fighters' insurance, the running cost of the competition, and the broadcasting share of the quarterfinals. Because there was no registration limit, it was impossible to get a share of the profits once the competition started. That way, most of the fighters would scam the funds. Only after 7 or 8 competitions and reaching the top 8 of the division would be qualified to profit from the preliminaries. Hey, it's true. Yan Xiaoling sent a message to Brahman happily. Brahman replied quickly, I saw it too. My idol is becoming more and more popular. I'm going to post the link to the Longhu Club forum and show them. The 2 girls were busy for a while. They watched the live broadcast again nervously and excitedly, waiting for the competition to start. 2 minutes before 3:00, Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye finally beat the weekend traffic jam and arrived at Hongluo Martial Arts School in time. They were followed by 4 girls who looked quite studious but were all dressed quite fashionably. Looking around, Zhao Chang saw Kai Zongming and pointed at him happily. Let's go there. The spectator seats left for the visiting team were sparse and spacious. Kai Zongming greeted them warmly and helped to arrange the seats for the girls. He secretly complained to Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao, the aesthetic standards of art students are indeed different from us normal people. At this age, shouldn't they wear clothes that accentuate their youthfulness and their original student aura? Wasn't this dressing a little too mature? If you really want to wear it, do you think you won't have the chance in a few years? Zhao Chang stole a few glances and smiled reservedly. I think it's pretty good. His black-rimmed glasses shone brightly in the sunlight outside the window. Kai Zongming chuckled and didn't say much, because the competition was about to begin. After everyone was seated, the girl sitting next to Zhang Jingye tugged at his sleeve and said with a smile, Who is the awesome roommate you were talking about? This girl had a cute and pleasing round face. She was wearing a light pink coat that was relatively less mature. She was Zhang Jingye's prospective girlfriend, Wu Qian from the Academy of Arts. Hearing her question, the other 3 girls also looked at Zhang Jingye curiously, waiting for his answer. This was the first time in their lives that they had a friend who could be broadcast live on TV, a friend of a friend of a friend. Zhang Jingye pointed at Lu Cheng who was kneeling in the first row of the visiting team's tatami. That, do you see? The one on the far left, the one with the spirit. Wu Qian stretched her neck and giggled. Yes, I see. He's quite classy. The other 3 girls were about to open their mouths when they saw the referee in black walking to the center of the bluestone ground. He announced loudly, the first match between Hongluo Martial Arts School and Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Fang Tong vs Lu Cheng. As soon as the referee announced the match, the surrounding audience burst into applause and cheers. Although there weren't many people in the audience, they were all friends and relatives, so they tried their best. Hong Luo will win, and Fang Tong will win, echoed in his ears. Lu Qing slowly stood up and turned his head to look at Yan Zhika without hiding anything. Yan Zhika boldly returned his gaze. Her eyes were as clear as water, like a hidden star. Her face was flushed because of excitement, nervousness, and worry. She clenched her fist and waved it. Her pink lips moved up and down as if she was mouthing, "Cheer." With a smile on his face, Lu Qing calmly bent down and put on his shoes. Under the unfriendly gazes of the onlookers, he walked along the aisle towards the arena at a leisurely pace. The strength in his heart gradually settled and accumulated, waiting to erupt when the battle officially began. The audience on the tatami mats was estimated to be less than 100 people. Most of them were the peripheral students of Hong Luo Martial Arts School and their friends and relatives. A small number of them were the family members and friends of the participating disciples. It was definitely not comparable to the sea of people in Songqing University Martial Arts Club Stadium. But because it was close to the arena, the cheers and provocations were more impactful, as if someone was roaring next to his ear. Lu Qing was also a martial artist who had experienced a lot, so he wasn't afraid at all. He passed through the curses, provocations, and lines of defense formed by gazes and stepped into the arena made of bluestone ground. During this process, he could even think of some trivial things. "I'm afraid this pair of shoes won't last long. After a few more fierce kicks, they will be almost useless. The road of martial arts is really expensive." On the arena, Fang Tong was already standing on the left side of the referee. His hair stood up and his momentum was fierce, as if he would explode at any moment. He was tall, over 1.85 meters tall, and the simple scarlet-red martial arts suit made him look like a slim-fit suit. 3 minutes. The referee looked at his watch and took a step back. Fang Tong stared at Lu Qing and smiled contemptuously. "You're very proud, aren't you? It only took you half a year to grow from a novice with no rank to a fighter of professional ninth pin. You do have the right to be proud. But I like to fight with so-called geniuses like you the most. I like to see you flustered under my attacks. I like to see your futile struggle. I like to see your eyes doubting life after a crushing defeat. I like to see your cowering face in front of me. Do you know, there was once an 18-year-old ninth pin genius fighter who was beaten by me until he cried. He cried. Hey, if you want to cry later, just cry. Don't hold it back. Go back and find your mom to comfort you." Lu Qing listened quietly. A line of introduction on the information flashed in his mind. Fang Tong, good at trash talking, good at provocation. He closed his eyes and confirmed his fighting style one last time. Once he stepped into the arena, he would go all out and fight like a life and death battle. He would not consider holding back any trump cards. But he did not have enough life and death experience. He could only use this as a reference. With this thought, Lu Qing recalled the details of his fight with the dark sect ninth pin. A whip kick to the temple, squeezing out 2 bloody eyeballs. A rocket-like cannon, bursting his genitals, blood, and urine all over the ground. A secret technique of spirit and aura, directly attacking the mind, shaking the soul. Compared to the fear caused by the dark sect ninth pin, Fang Tong's trash talk was like a child scolding. Gradually, Lu Qing ignored Fang Tong's trash talk. He only felt that there seemed to be a croaking sound coming from a distant place. It could not affect his memory at all. Using the secret technique of spirit and aura to create rigidity. Fear caused by the poisonous needle force. Forced to open his stance. Prepared, biting the tip of the tongue. Mercurial balance, dodging in time. Deafening sound skill, killing move again. 1-inch punch, supernatural ability of flame, taking advantage of opportunity. Scenes flashed in his mind. Finally, it stopped at the scene of the dark sect ninth pin bleeding from the 7 orifices. The light in his eyes faded quickly, leaving behind a trace of unwillingness. The scene froze. Lu Qing opened his eyes and looked at Fang Tong with eyes as cold as ice. "What's the use of training for a kid like you who hasn't been weaned yet? Really?" Fong Tong was talking enthusiastically when he was suddenly stunned by such a weak look. He did not know why, but there was a slight chill in the bottom of his heart. For a moment, he was speechless. Begin. At this moment, the referee waved his right hand. Fong Tong took a deep breath. His calf and thigh muscles swelled, making the corners of his martial arts pants stand out. The clothes on his upper body twitched, revealing his muscles one after another. Invading like fire, erupting like fire. Bam! He quickly approached and took a step forward punch. He poured all his strength into his right arm. The wind stirred, his bulging muscles pulled the skin and punched at Lu Qing fiercely. If an ordinary person was hit by such a punch, even if they did not die, they would be seriously injured. Lu Qing lowered his waist and sat down. Lightning flashed in his mind and the snow mountain collapsed. The rolling force surged to the soles of his feet, mighty and unstoppable. He put his right foot horizontally and exerted force on the ground in a half-twisting posture. Suddenly, he felt a rebound attack. A slightly spiral force flowed from his foot to his leg, from his leg to his waist, and from his waist to his spine. With this as the axis, all the force in the flow was directed to his right arm. His right arm seemed to swell and his skin seemed to be pulled open. Lu Qing clenched his fist and hammered down to block Fong Tong's attacking hand. When the two were about to touch, his joints changed and his muscles and bones stretched, sending out a short but vigorous 1-inch punch. Bam! A layer of flame rose and covered Lu Qing's hand. Then it collided with Fong Tong's fist. The supernatural ability of fire versus burning force. Bang! With a muffled sound, Lu Qing felt like his right hand was burning. But he had expected it. He took advantage of the momentum and swung his right arm back, bringing a reverse momentum. Fong Tong's expression changed slightly. He instinctively swung his right arm to get rid of the burning sensation. His chest and abdomen were immediately opened. At the tatami of the home team, Wang Hui, Jiang Guosheng, and Pan Qingyun changed their expressions immediately. Lu Qing was not going to show mercy. He twisted his waist and tightened his thighs. With the help of the stomping force of his right foot and the backward momentum of his right arm, his left leg suddenly tightened like a soft whip. He ferociously and violently kicked between Fong Tong's legs. But he was still in a charging posture. Fong Tong's eyes showed panic. In his mind, he visualized the scene of a burning body. His buttocks were involuntarily clenched and his muscles exerted force on his tailbone. Then he bounced his back and hooked his legs to pounce to the side. Burning body, going up the roof. With just a pounce, Fong Tong pulled a few meters away from Lu Qing and avoided the deadly whip kick. But Lu Qing was not in a hurry. After the whip kick missed, he immediately lowered his leg and adjusted his muscles. He stepped heavily on the bluestone ground and directed the mega avalanche and lightning and fire stance in his mind to the soles of his feet. Bam! As if the ground was hit, Lu Qing bounced up and pounced on Fong Tong's side. His speed was not slow at all. The bluestone where he originally stood had a shallow mark on it. One in front and one behind, they were like two eagles chasing each other. Fong Tong regained his footing and used the force to bounce back. Lu Qing had already arrived. He turned his body sideways, lowered his shoulders, bulged his muscles, and rammed forward with all his strength. It was as if an avalanche was about to happen. Fong Tong had no strength to dodge and could only hurriedly raise his arms in front of his body to block. Bam! Fong Tong's arms were in pain and pressed to his chest. Fong Tong flew out of the ring and fell in front of the tatami mats, almost knocking over several spectators. Lu Qing threw Fong Tong into the air. The referee nodded slightly and appreciated Lu Qing's mercy at the end. Otherwise, he would have to stop it to avoid causing casualties. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Lu Qing wins." Lu Qing won in a few breaths. The whole martial arts club and the home team were silent. Yan Shaoling was looking at the screen with annoyance because the signal was interrupted. After more than 10 seconds, the signal was restored. She saw the collision between the two and heard the commentator's voice. Welcome to the next round. The match has just started and there is no delay. As I introduced during the conversation, Fang Tong in the red martial arts suit is one of the top young masters in Songqing. He has reached professional 9th pin more than 3 years ago. He lost. I just started the commentary. P.S. Please recommend me. Chapter 118. Yan Shaoling was as confused as the commentator. Not long after the signal was restored, she saw Fang Tong running away in a hurry and Lu Qing running after him. Before she could figure out what had happened, she had to face the final result. The result was certainly gratifying, but the confusing and short process made her somewhat unable to believe that it was real. She deeply suspected that after the signal was cut off, someone had faked the live broadcast and hired 2 actors who looked somewhat similar to each other to fake the fight, just like an old gambling movie she had watched before. The commentator was silent for a moment and finally recovered. Hello everyone, I'm Wang Peng. Welcome to the first live broadcast of this year's preliminaries of Songqing Division. The first match just ended. Fang Tong from Hongluo Martial Arts School versus Lu Qing from Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Both sides fought fiercely, and the winner was decided within a few moves. This made me very confused, and I believe that everyone is the same. Now, let's review the fight just now and figure out what happened. The scene changed and the replay started. Yan Shaoling opened her mouth slightly and stared at the screen like a child. In less than 10 seconds, she suddenly exclaimed, "Fire!" While the exclamation was still echoing, she, who had been influenced by the internet for a long time, had already understood. She let out a burst of forthright laughter and said to herself in surprise and delight, Lu Qing has supernatural power. He has never used it before. He hid it so well. Ha ha ha, I like it. She picked up her phone and sent a voice message to Brahman. Brahman, did you see it? Lu Qing is so handsome, so handsome. Brahman also replied with an excited voice message, I saw it, I saw it. So handsome. I never thought he had supernatural power. He is indeed a hidden and mysterious master. Get out of the way, I'm going to be infatuated. After a burst of crisp laughter, she said dreamily, Lu Qing has the power of flame, and his martial arts are so good. He has so much potential. In the future, he might really become a famous martial artist. When that time comes, when I ask for his autograph, I can proudly say that I was his earliest fangirl. I'll watch you become stronger little by little. Yan Shaoling covered her chest and said, My heart is bleeding. You stole the title of the first fan. Brahman laughed and said, How is that stealing? Obviously it is. Also, the way you addressed me just now was too rude. Call me father. The 2 girls laughed and joked for a while. Brahman was excited. While waiting for the second battle, she opened the forum of Longhu Club to see what her friends had to say. From the moment the results came out, no one replied for a full minute. Immediately after that, a large number of posts appeared in the next 10 to 20 seconds. Unparalleled Dragon King, said with a Nike mouth emoji, I finally understand why he burst out in the end when he was fighting Yi Yaoting. He has awakened the power of Blaze. Road to the Arena added. I didn't lose unjustly. Not to mention the flame arcana at the beginning, just looking at how he grasped the opportunity and how calm he was, and looking at the last 2 or 3 exchanges, I have a feeling that if I were to fight with him again, without a referee, I would die. Invincible punch. Jean Tao also replied with a complicated tone, every time I watch his match, I feel that the gap between us is widening. Before, I still had the motivation to catch up, but now, I can only be myself. Beautiful world, comforted Jean Tao, don't be sad, little fist. As long as you can reach professional 9th pin this year and get better martial arts from Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy, you will still be an outstanding young fighter. Don't compare yourself with this kind of cheating guy. Some people are really blessed by God. Although she still didn't like Lu Qing, she had to admit that Lu Qing's speed of improvement was so amazing that she didn't even have the courage to slander him. Outspoken, said, Didn't he win this match with his supernatural ability? Why are you boasting so much? Let's see how he can win when Hongluo Martial Arts School is prepared. Fancy Leg Shaking King said smilingly, a young martial artist with great potential who also has the power of fire. He's a perfect match for our Longhu club, okay? The unique skills of the fire sect of Taoism and the power of blaze are perfect. Who knows, maybe Lu Cheng will join our club in the future. Brahman looked at the replies that were either sincerely convinced or still jealous. She was in a very good mood and didn't respond to them. She only liked the comment about the king of fancy leg shaking and sent a plus 10,086, imagining the scene of her new idol joining her favorite martial arts force. How wonderful that would be. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, more than 100 spectators were unusually depressed and couldn't speak for a while. It was like someone suddenly slapped them from behind while they were having a good time peeing, so they had to force it back. To be honest, they were mentally prepared for the possibility of Fong Tong losing the match. Since Fong Tong was chosen by Songqing TV station for the live broadcast, at least the gap between the strength of the two sides would not be too big. Moreover, Lu Cheng's meteoric rise had long been known through information and word of mouth. They felt that it was not particularly strange for such a genius fighter who had defeated a professional ninth pin master to win against Fong Tong. At most, they would feel depressed for a while. But what they didn't expect was that Lu Cheng would win so quickly and violently. During this process, they had just organized themselves to cheer for Fong Tong for the first time when they were interrupted by Lu Cheng's sudden use of the power of blaze. They stopped abruptly, nervously and worriedly paying attention to the subsequent developments. When Fong Tong dodged with the burning body, they regained their expectations and tried to cheer for Fong Tong again. However, Lu Cheng closed the distance without missing a beat and ended the battle cleanly. How could they not feel depressed when they were interrupted twice in a row and the professional expert they had high hopes for was defeated again? How could they say anything? Yen Jika sat elegantly, like an ancient lady. But at this time, she unconsciously held her pink cheek with her left hand and slightly tilted her head, looking at Lu Cheng who was standing on the stage. She wasn't surprised at the result of the quick victory. Not only because she had known about the existence of the power of blaze, but also because after Lu Cheng's mental injury had completely recovered, she had curiously asked him about the details of the battle between him and the ninth pin of the dark sect. She had a deep impression of that thrilling battle. This time, Lu Cheng had learned his lesson and went all out from the beginning without holding back. His opponent didn't expect this, so the result was obvious. But after the opportunity created by the power of blaze, she was delighted by Lu Cheng's performance of handling a difficult situation with ease and calmness. Having an opportunity didn't mean that he would definitely win. His opponent also didn't lack trump cards. Just like the ninth pin of the dark sect, he had created an absolute advantage with his secret skill of spiritual momentum and poisonous needle force. But he couldn't grasp the situation and died on the spot. But just now, after the successful strike, Lu Cheng had completely extinguished Fong Tong's hope with a calmness and ruthlessness that were beyond his age. With a precise grasp of the changes in the battle situation and a posture that made his opponent despair, he had made all his struggles disappear. While Yen Jika's imagination was running wild, she suddenly saw Lu Cheng turn around and look at her from afar. His eyes were smiling, and his mouth was opening and closing, mouthing the words. Although she didn't understand lip language, she suddenly had a feeling of telepathy and understood what Lu Cheng was saying. He said, "Thank you, Coach Yen." Still that silly Cheng. Yen Jika couldn't help but smile. Her teeth were slightly opened, and her cheeks were pink. On the arena, Lu Cheng was dazzled. He didn't expect that the delicate and quick-witted Yen Jika, who wasn't even 19 years old, could smile so charmingly just now. There was no need to look back. The interaction between the two was almost unnoticed by the shocked audience, except for one exception. Geezer Sher's mouth twitched and he said, "Coach Yen? Don't you know that this old man can read lips? You little bastard, you value your girl over your teacher. If I hadn't been like this in the past, I would have thrown you out now." While he was cursing in his heart, Li Mao and Sun Jian beside him looked at each other with a complicated smile. He even has the supernatural ability of flame. This kind of junior brother is really despairing. The two opened their mouths at the same time, but they said different things, which made Qin Zhanghua, who was sitting behind them, smile bitterly and say to himself, junior brothers nowadays are more terrible than the previous one. The new generation overtakes the old, and the old should die on the beach. Lin Ke was still expressionless, but his eyes flashed slightly. Guo Qin, who was on his right, said, this Cheng is really good at hiding. When did he get the supernatural ability? After exclaiming a few words, Guo Qin turned to Yan Zhika beside her and joked, Ku, are you moved? Cheng was so cool and mighty just now. Before she could finish her words, she saw Yan Zhika blushing and looking at the ring with her bright and gentle eyes. Startled, she lowered her voice and said in Mandarin, don't tell me you've really fallen for him? I was just kidding. Boys like Cheng can't accept it easily. He's too good at hiding and lying. He suddenly became so powerful, and suddenly he has the supernatural ability of flame. I know this. Yan Zhika interrupted her in a low voice. Know what? That he's a liar? Or that he has the supernatural ability of flame? Guo Qin asked in astonishment. Yan Zhika pursed her lips and smiled, he doesn't hide anything from me. Guo Qin was stunned and looked Yan Zhika up and down. She suddenly realized, you're not dating, are you? Yan Zhika lowered her head and blushed from her cheeks to her ears, yes. Behind the spectator seats of the away team, Shu Rui was shocked and excited. She couldn't wait to jump on the stage and give Lu Qing another interview. No wonder he's the fighter I chose. He's really a hot topic. Sooner or later I'll rely on him to make big news. Although Kai Zongming knew Lu Qing had the supernatural ability of flame, he didn't expect him to win Fang Tong so quickly and so easily. He was a little stunned and murmured, spring is coming, and everything is coming back to life. It's mating season for animals on the prairie. Lu Qing is especially aggressive in his mating season. Don't get close to him. Wu Qian and the other girls chuckled and looked at Lu Qing with curiosity and admiration. So handsome. He's really a master. Do you like him? How about asking Wu Qian to get you a contact number? While whispering, Wu Qian pulled Zhang Jingye with a smile. Does your classmate have a girlfriend? Zhang Jingye thought for a while and said, probably not, but he has a target. During the get-together, the boys all saw that Lu Qing was interested in Yan Zhika. Who? Wu Qian and others gossiped. Zhang Jingye pointed at Yan Zhika, that girl. The girls stared at him and were suddenly speechless. After a long time, they said, what a beautiful girl. Zhao Chong and Qiu Zhigao didn't join their discussion. They looked at each other and were surprised by Lu Qing's charm in the arena. Although Lu Qing had undergone a lot of changes in the past semester, as a roommate who saw him every day, he was relatively slow to notice. It wasn't until now that he realized that his inconspicuous and ordinary roommate actually had the demeanor of a master. Looking at Fang Tong, who came back dejectedly and unwillingly, Wang Hui swallowed his comforting words and said with a straight face, do you think that the other party relied on the element of surprise to defeat you so easily? No. Fang Tong answered sullenly, but the expression on his face was contrary to his words. Wang Hui snorted and said, what he showed later was not simple. He should have had the experience of a life-and-death battle. A life-and-death battle? Jiang Guosheng and Pan Qingyun asked at the same time. Fang Tong also raised his head. Yes, once they fight, they will not hold back. They will be fierce, and the winner will be decided in a few moves. Wang Hui closed his eyes and said, if he is still alive after a life-and-death battle, it can only mean one thing. His opponent is dead, killed by him. Jiang Guosheng was startled when he heard this. It wasn't that he had never fought on the streets before, but he had always helped his friends bully martial artists who were weaker than him. Even though he had seen blood, it was useless. Facing a martial artist who had survived a life-and-death struggle, his courage immediately weakened. What kind of life-and-death battle was it? He didn't have other troubles? Or was he seriously injured? Or was there another master who stopped him in time? Seeing Fang Tong withdraw his unwillingness and anger, Wang Hui laughed and said, "But you don't have to be afraid. According to my observation, his supernatural ability of flame is very weak, and his strength is much lower than Guosheng's. Guosheng, once you are prepared, you will have no problem defeating him. And I don't have to worry about one thing anymore." His last burst of strength when he fought with Yi Yaoting was not a unique skill, but a talent awakening. It will be hard to have a second chance. Jiang Guosheng gradually calmed down and regained his confidence. Pan Xingyun and Fang Tong nodded slightly and walked out of their emotions. At this time, the referee waved to the people of Hongluo Martial Arts School and asked them to send the second fighter to the ring as soon as possible. Although the interval between each match was deliberately longer during the live broadcast to give the TV station or video website a chance to comment, introduce, and interact, the interval would not be too long, so that the fighters who won the previous match could have more rest than they should have. For Lu Cheng, it didn't matter. Wang Hui nodded and said to Jiang Guosheng, "Go, take him down." Jiang Guosheng narrowed his eyes and walked steadily to the ring. Chapter 119. Jiang Guosheng's physique was robust, and his back was straight as he slowly walked over. Not only did he show his steadiness, but he also displayed the manly spirit of a martial artist. He controlled his speed, and every step he took was rhythmic. It was like he was beating a drum again and again, exploding with each step, pushing his aura to its peak. Fire-like invasion, momentum first. In the face of Jiang Guosheng's constant pressure, the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was at ease. They were not worried or nervous at all. For them, Lu Cheng's quick victory over Jiang Guosheng had already fulfilled his responsibility as the vanguard. Next, they just needed to exhaust Jiang Guosheng's strength a few more times to make him lose in the following matches. Then, they would be able to clinch victory. As for whether Lu Cheng could exhaust Jiang Guosheng a few more outbursts, it was needless to ask. From the strength he showed just now, from the fact that he didn't exhaust much, and from the fact that he had reached the level of professional ninth pin in half a year, they could get a definite answer. Among them, only Yan Zhika, who was used to seeing Lu Cheng create miracles again and again, was vaguely expecting something. Only Wu Qian, Zhao Chang and other students who didn't know much about Lu Cheng's strength were still cheering and longing for a second victory. With Jiang Guosheng's appearance, the peripheral students and non-core disciples of Hongluo Martial Arts School unconsciously dispersed their depression and calmed down. They were quite confident that senior brother Jiang could defeat his opponent. What was there to be afraid of after only one loss? Over the past few years, as Wang Hui grew older, the time for him to personally teach his disciples and students had become less and less. Most of the time, it was Jiang Guosheng who acted as his teacher to teach his disciples, guide their practice, and demonstrate their fighting styles. He had become the de facto leader of the Hongluo Martial Arts School, and held a very high position in everyone's hearts. The only thing they needed to worry and pray was how many outbursts he could use to defeat Lu Cheng. If they fought until 7 or 8 outbursts, it would be equal to a lose-lose situation. Then how could they fight against the opponent's main fighter, Lin Ke? Even if there were only 5 or 6 outbursts, the consumption would be great and the follow-up would be very unsettling. I hope senior brother Jiang can defeat Lu Cheng within 5 outbursts and show the power of our martial arts school and let the audience know Hongluo again. Lu Cheng smiled and turned the warmth and sweetness with Yan Zhika into his desire to win. He felt that he was full of thirst for the word win. Martial artists should challenge their limits. Even in the face of a strong enemy, they couldn't easily admit defeat. He closed his eyes, condensed water into ice, suppressed his desire, and waited for an explosion. He did not look at Jiang Guosheng's accumulated momentum. In the end, he recalled the predetermined fighting style. Once Jiang Guosheng got close to him, he would immediately counterattack and disrupt his explosive rhythm. Then he would use 24 blizzard strikes to suppress Jiang Guosheng with 24 blizzard strikes. The strategy was very simple, but in the ever-changing arena, the simpler the strategy, the more effective it was. At this time, Jiang Guosheng stood on the other side of the referee. His aura was extremely strong, like a flame that was about to set the prairie ablaze. His eyes were sharp as he stared at his opponent, who still had a little bit of a student's aura left in him. As if he could sense it, Lu Qing slowly opened his eyes the moment he looked over. His eyes were as deep as a pool and as calm as ice, as if they could extinguish all flames. Their gazes collided. One had been a rank 9 for many years and had rich experience in the arena. The other was a rising star who had fought life and death battles before. There was no flicker or flinching in their gazes. They fought to a draw. The referee did not wait any longer. He raised his right hand and swung it down heavily. Second round, begin. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Guoxing's temples bulged. The muscles of his thighs and calves suddenly swelled and pushed up his trousers. He drove his body and pounced on Lu Qing like a spreading fire. Lu Qing maintained his mercurial state. He bounced his back and swung his center of gravity. He suddenly dodged to the side. Like a ghost, he was a few meters away in a flash. Jiang Guoxing wasn't surprised. He was prepared for this. His spine suddenly wriggled like an earth dragon, and he changed the direction of his body. He was faster and fiercer than Lu Qing. He chased after Lu Qing like a wolf and was about to catch up. He wasn't afraid of Lu Qing's strange change of direction. This was a professional ninth pin fighter who could release and withdraw at will. Like Lin Ke, he was only one step away from the dance stage. But Lu Qing seemed to be waiting for such a scene. He suddenly lowered his center of gravity. In his mind, lightning fell from the sky and snow collapsed. The rolling hot flow rushed to his thighs and soles. With a stomp of his feet, the violent force bounced back. Taking advantage of the momentum, he turned around and pulled back his two hands. Like a cannon, he launched an attack at the rapidly approaching Jiang Guoxing. The ferocity of the counterattack, the speed of the attack, and the viciousness of the power, not only did it tear apart the sound of the wind and bring about a buzzing sound, it also caused the hundreds of spectators in the home arena to let out worried cries. Jiang Guoxing did not panic. He tightened his hips and clamped his tailbone, igniting the fire in exchange for an explosive response. He didn't dodge. Instead, he used this opportunity to push the strength he had just accumulated. His muscles bulged, and he seemed to have expanded a little. He bounced his back and directed all the flames to his right hand. Then, he blocked Lu Qing's attack with a hammer strike. One hammer for 2 punches. Bam! The two collided for the first time. The dull and blood-boiling sound echoed in the surroundings. Lu Qing used his hearing skill to withdraw his fists. He quickly adjusted his muscles and changed his center of gravity. He tightened his thighs and used the force to attack again. Bam! Lu Qing's leg whip was more ferocious than the previous 2 punches. He used the shortest way and the fastest speed to disrupt Jiang Guoxing's explosive rhythm. 24 blizzard strikes, endless wind and endless blizzard. Jiang Guoxing was going to adjust his body and combine the feedback and counter-pressure from earlier with the corresponding visualization to push for the second explosion. However, the image of the spreading flames appeared in his mind, and before his muscles could expand, Lu Qing's whip kick was already coming at him. He had no choice but to hastily transfer half of the strength of the explosion to his right leg. He tightened his toes and kicked at his opponent. Bam! When the two collided, Lu Qing took the opportunity to withdraw his leg. He used the force to lean back slightly like a slingshot and was about to launch a heart-drilling blast punch. At this moment, he saw Jiang Guoxing take a deep breath. Instead of attacking, he withdrew his right hand to his chest. His spirit, momentum, and blood seemed to have disappeared. No, it was restrained. An electric light flashed in Lu Qing's mind. The video of Hongluo Martial Arts School and Yan Zhika's words appeared in his mind. This was another killing move of Hongluo Martial Arts School. It was extremely fierce and terrifying after compressing the whole body's strength to a certain extent. Without the feeling of withdraw in dance stage, it was difficult to exert its power. However, once it was used, it was definitely not something a normal professional ninth pin fighter could resist. When the pressure reached the extreme, the rebound would also reach the extreme. Star burst, prairie fire. Lu Qing made a decision in an instant. He took a deep breath, adjusted his muscles, changed his center of gravity, and put his arms in a horizontal stance. When Lu Qing finished his stance, Jiang Guoxing suddenly expanded. He seemed to have grown taller and his momentum became extremely fierce. His temples were obviously bulging. He pushed his feet inwards and pulled out his right hand, which was in front of his chest. It was as fast as thunder, tearing the air. Bam! When the pull hit Lu Cheng's arms, he felt an unstoppable majestic force. He felt a burning pain and a piercing pain at the places of contact. It seemed that his stance was about to be broken. Fortunately, he was prepared. He didn't expect to take it head-on. He tightened his waist and back, twisted his body, and exerted force on his feet. With the help of this majestic force, he actually broke his stance and jumped back. He flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Normally, when beaten like this, he would be in a precarious situation. However, Lu Qing took the initiative and kept his center of gravity. There was a move in Tai Chi, which was to take a step back after blocking the opponent's attack to neutralize the force. Lu Qing was using the extreme application of Tai Chi without strong control of the body and absolute confidence in the adjustment of the center of gravity. It would be suicidal. While flying backward, Lu Qing turned around with his back facing Jiang Guoxing. Under the pressure of the majestic force, he continued to move forward. He didn't mess up his footwork, like an agile eagle. Jiang Guoxing didn't show any mercy. He exerted force on his feet and quickly approached, trying to copy the scene of Lu Qing winning the last blow at the same time. At this moment, Lu Qing, who had spent most of the force, borrowed the remaining force and used the adjustment of his muscles to direct it to his legs. Dong! His heavy footsteps seemed to shake the ground slightly. Taking advantage of the momentum, he twisted his waist and took a step forward. His muscles bulged, and his skin tightened. With both his feet, he struck out with a mountain blast punch. Once again, he fiercely counterattacked. Jiang Guoxing stopped as soon as he said so, like a heavy truck that had braked suddenly. However, he immediately rushed up again, pouring the accumulated strength into his legs. He stomped his feet, and with the help of the violent rebound, he pulled his right shoulder and lashed out with his whip. Even if it was a stone millstone in front of him, he would still crack it. Bam! The blast punch blocked the whip and made a dull sound. Both of them were stagnant at the same time. This caused the surrounding cheers to temporarily disappear. The audience watching the live broadcast and the live broadcast were immediately stunned, and their heartstrings tightened. Pa! 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 The martial arts shoes on their feet cracked one after another. The footprints and cracks on the floor were exposed. After a moment of absolute silence, the audience burst into loud applause. No matter which side the supporters were from, they were all excited by the collision of pure physical strength. Shu Rui clenched her fists and her eyes flashed. She secretly breathed a sigh of relief. With such a battle, there would be no problem with the live broadcast. She, who made the suggestion, wouldn't be the scapegoat. Chapter 120. Pan Xingyun had straightened his back and stared at the ring. His expression was unprecedentedly serious, and his eyes were more focused than ever. It seemed that Lu Qing was probably more powerful than he had expected. It had been more than 20 days since the end of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Lu Qing had reached the level of professional 9th pin in only 4 months. He had enough time to make another breakthrough. Since he could reach the level of professional 9th pin from amateur 1st pin in 3 months, why couldn't such a genius do more in 1 month? Moreover, he seemed to have experienced a lot of life and death battles. His momentum was not inferior to that of his fellow apprentices who made a living in this aspect. At this moment, Lu Qing still had shortcomings in strength and speed, but the gap between him and the professional 9th pin had been greatly shortened. Plus, his control of his body, understanding of the technique of exerting force, and the proportion of power transferred between his punches and kicks and the degree of explosion were higher. These were enough to fill up the small gap. In other words, Lu Qing had reached the standard of a professional ninth pin in all aspects except for his physical fitness. He had even surpassed this level in the fields of coordination, listening skill, and meditation. All in all, although he was not invincible among the professional ninth pin fighters, he was strong enough to fight with any of the professional ninth pin fighters. And this was excluding the fact that his power of blaze was not strong enough at present. Unconsciously, Pan Qingyun regarded Lu Qing as a young fighter who was more talented than himself. And he took it for granted. His attitude changed 180 degrees from the contempt at the beginning to a little bit too much. He has no rank yet. It is very likely that he will participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin at the end of April. At that time, if there are only 1 or 2 applicants, it will be a narrow road. No matter how calm Pan Qingyun was, he still felt a headache. He was only officially recognized as an amateur first pin, and also had to participate in the ranking event at the end of April. Yan Zhika saw that Lu Cheng's shoes were cracked, but his figure was still standing in the ring as if he was invincible. She felt funny and distressed at the same time. She also felt that this figure seemed to be able to withstand all the wind and rain and bear all the responsibilities. I haven't given him a gift yet. She suddenly thought of this, feeling shy and sweet at the same time. In the arena, Lu Cheng, whose martial arts shoes were finally broken, felt unbearable soreness in his arms, as if he had been hit thousands of times. If he hadn't jumped back and neutralized his force when Jiang Guoxing used his killer move, Star Burst, his stance would have been broken and he would have lost on the spot. His arms and hands might not be able to support themselves anymore. In the following collision, his bones would either be broken or fractured. He had no way to defeat Jiang Guoxing in terms of strength. However, in a competition, pure strength was only the main factor that influenced the outcome. It wasn't the only factor. In this situation, the brave one won't win. He forced himself to take a deep breath and did not make any adjustments. Using the desperation of a life and death battle, he took a step forward. He exerted strength in his feet and tightened his thighs. With a snap, he pulled out his right leg that was dragging behind him and kicked straight between Jiang Guoxing's legs. Shi, who was sitting in a daze, slightly adjusted his posture when he saw this. He laughed in a low voice and said, "You're quite sharp." Wang Hui from Hongluo Martial Arts School frowned and muttered to himself, "If it's Fang Tong." While Jiang Guoxing was taking a breather and preparing for the fourth explosion, he saw Lu Qing take a step forward and pull back his leg. Instead of retreating, Lu Qing rushed forward, showing an aura of either Jiang Guoxing's death or Lu Cheng's. Jiang Guoxing panicked and channeled the strength he had just accumulated into his right leg. He straightened it and waved it like a soft whip, whistling towards Lu Qing. Bang! Without shoes, the two legs collided in midair and then retracted. Lu Qing quickly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and bounced his back. He immediately shifted his position and flashed to Jiang Guoxing's side. Lowering his waist, he raised his right hand and ferociously chopped downwards towards his opponent's temple. His master said that if he wanted to disrupt the opponent's explosive rhythm, he should not be foolishly facing it head-on. Instead, he should use his own characteristics to mobilize the opponent and force him into an unsuitable posture and position to fight him head-on. Because he hadn't recovered yet, he couldn't mobilize enough strength, so he could only attack the opponent's vital points. Every move was a steal, every move was dangerous. You've got some understanding. Shi nodded with satisfaction. Jiang Guoxing took a deep breath, straightened his shoulders and raised his left arm, blocking the punch right beside his head. As soon as the two came into contact, his muscles suddenly expanded. Using his back as a whip and his left arm as a guide, he made a ferocious swing, making Lu Qing feel like he was pushed hard. He lost his center of gravity and was about to stumble to the side. The fifth explosion of fire-like invasion. The moment he lost his center of gravity, Lu Qing clearly knew that even if he quickly recovered his footwork, what awaited him was Jiang Guoxing's sixth explosion. The rhythm of the battle fell into his hands and there was no chance for him to win. At the critical moment, as he stumbled away, he snapped his fingers with his right hand that was next to his opponent's temple. Pa! A flame came out and burned a few strands of Jiang Guosheng's hair. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing took 3 steps back and quickly adjusted his body to regain his center of gravity. Jiang Guosheng felt a burning pain in his head. He was afraid that his hair would burn his head, so he hurriedly swatted it back and didn't chase after him immediately. Seeing this, Lu Qing had an idea. He took a deep breath and rushed forward crazily to Jiang Guosheng, who had just caught up with him. In a flash, he closed the distance between them. He stepped forward with his right foot, shook his shoulder, and threw a blast punch at Jiang Guosheng's lower abdomen. Jiang Guosheng didn't expect his opponent to be so tough. He had to use the 6th explosion in advance. His 2 hands quickly reached down and accurately pressed Lu Cheng's blast punch like an osprey landing. Seeing this, Wang Hui, the master of Hongluo martial arts school, couldn't help but sigh. He thought that it was a good thing that his disciple had become more prudent as he grew older and had a chance to break through to the Dan stage. But now it seemed that there were pros and cons. If he didn't force him into a corner, he wouldn't dare to take risks and risk his life. If it were Fang Tong, he wouldn't have taken a breather. He wouldn't have cared whether his hair was lit or not. When you create an opportunity, you have to seize it regardless of your own safety. This is the true essence of fire-like invasion. Compared to Lu Qing, the difference between Jiang Guosheng and Lu Qing was not only that Jiang Guosheng did not have the experience of a life-and-death battle, which could be made up for by his rich experience in arena battles, but also that he was no longer as hot-blooded and courageous as he was when he was young. Originally, a person without hot-blooded and courageous courage would have their own routines and advantages, but the fighting style of Hongluo martial arts school was called fire-like invasion, and the contradiction between the two was his biggest problem. Today, it would depend on whether or not his strength could solve this problem. Bang! Lu Cheng's blast punch was just stopped by Jiang Guosheng. He shook his right arm and flicked his wrist, slipping out from between Jiang Guosheng's hands. He drew a small arc and grabbed the enemy's wrist. Big and small hand wrap. Jiang Guosheng wasn't someone to be trifled with. He gathered his strength and swatted with his palm, as if he was swatting a mosquito. At this moment, Lu Qing, who had been forcefully raising his qi, finally reached a certain limit. He urgently needed to exhale the turbid qi in his lungs. His right hand cleverly dodged the slap. Just as he was about to exhale the foul air, an idea suddenly flashed through his mind. He remembered a live broadcast he had watched before. At a critical moment, the Dragon King's body was restrained and he was about to be thrown to the ground. While he was face to face with his opponent, he suddenly spat out fire from his mouth and burned his opponent's face. The idea turned into an idea. Lu Qing used the Jindan to sense the inside of his body and made some adjustments. Then, he opened his mouth and, with the momentum of the brutal blizzard in his mind, exhaled and shouted, "Ah!" An arrow of turbid qi hit Jiang Guosheng's face. Although it wasn't really harmful, it made his eyes ache. He was so scared that he quickly closed them. Now is the time. Seizing the opportunity, Lu Qing finally took out Jiang Guosheng's left wrist. Like holding a black snake, he swung it fiercely. Bam bam bam. Jiang Guosheng instinctively resisted with all his strength. However, a few of his joints were shaken open. His muscles were also damaged. His left arm was temporarily disabled. Ah! He let out a roar. Forced into a desperate situation, he finally didn't care anymore. His body seemed to expand. He leaned to the left and bumped into Lu Qing with his shoulder. The 7th level of fire-like invasion. However, Lu Qing had already entered the field he was best at, which was listening and sensing. He lowered his body, turned his back and pulled, and used his left arm as a fulcrum to throw Jiang Guo out of the ring. Jiang Guo flew over his head and out of the ring. The referee was slightly surprised, but he still raised his hand and announced the result. The second round, Lu Qing wins. There were still 2 more levels of fire-like invasion, but Jiang Guosheng had already lost the match. Thump. Seeing senior brother Jiang, who usually taught disciples on behalf of his master, fall in front of them and struggle to stand up, the disciples and students of Hongluo Martial Arts School felt sad and desolate. No one spoke. Could it be that Lu Cheng had single-handedly challenged the martial arts school? The members of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club were also silent. They had not yet digested this unexpected surprise. Obviously, Jiang Guoxing seemed to be much more powerful and had the upper hand in the battle. How could he lose to Lu Cheng in the end? Moreover, he lost so miserably that the injury on his left arm could not be healed without a certain amount of time. Yan Zhika opened her pink lips slightly and then closed them again, revealing a playful and gentle dimple, just like the change when she heard the news in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Pan Xingyun couldn't suppress his anger and fighting spirit anymore. He suddenly stood up and was about to walk to the arena. At this time, Lu Cheng, who was happy and complacent, shook his arm and rubbed his fist. He felt that his bones were still a little painful. If he continued to fight, he was afraid that he would be injured. But his opponent was only of amateur first pin. Since he was in the limelight, he had to leave some leftovers for his brother-in-law, right? Therefore, when Pan Xingyun came to him, he turned around and left the arena with his bare feet. He didn't even look at his opponent. He left. Pan Xingyun was stunned on his way out. Just like that? I'm not of amateur first pin. I'm of professional ninth pin. P.S. Based on your request, I'm updating in advance. Please recommend me in addition. I have some content from Midnight Newspaper on my Signal Wuze 1985. You are welcome to read it. Chapter 121. The sun on Sunday shone through the windows of Hongluo Martial Arts School, leaving the room full of brilliance. Lu Cheng walked barefoot in the brilliance as if he was walking on a golden road. He was in a good mood, overflowing with happiness and relieving all the pressure. He looked at Yan Zhika walking back leisurely in front of the silent disciples and students of the martial arts club. This is the taste of victory. When he passed by Kai Zhongming and the others, he nodded and greeted them contentedly, not at all embarrassed by the reality of being barefoot. What a master! A martial artist who hasn't reached physical invulnerability can be so powerful. He broke his shoes in one move. Didn't you see the cracks and footprints on the stone floor? If he punched the boys in our school, they would be smashed into meat pies. So manly. A few girls from the School of Arts whispered to each other, full of admiration. They had only seen the fights of physical invulnerability experts and didn't have a clear understanding of dance stage and body refining. Today was the first time they knew that a human could be so fierce with only physical strength. For the first time, they looked at the martial arts club in a new light. Boys who practice martial arts are so energetic and elegant. They saw Lin Kei stand up and walk towards Lu Cheng. They looked around and came to the same conclusion. Hearing their undisguised discussion, Kai Zhongming had an impulse to cry. If he hadn't been lazy last year and joined the special training of the martial arts club, he wouldn't have been able to defeat Cheng. He's a freak. Zhang Jingye was a little jealous. Wu Qian sensed it and whispered in his ear, just take it that we're talking about TV stars, idols, singers, and famous martial artists. We're just gossiping. Not many people take it seriously. You're right. Zhang Jingye was relieved. But in this way, there would be a gap between Cheng and them. Qiu Zhigao sighed with emotion, I'm so jealous of Cheng. I often dream of the scene just now, as a man who liked to show off his muscles even in his dormitory, and as a new student who had an amateur level when he entered the school. It would be a lie if he said that he had never dreamed of martial arts when he was young. However, as he grew older and lost his talent, he gradually recognized reality and rationally put his time and energy into studying. He stared at the arena in a daze. His hot blood boiled, and his melancholy lasted for a long time. In the end, it turned into a sigh and disappeared into silence. I hope Cheng can go further on the path of martial arts and let me know how beautiful this glorious path is. Zhao Chang pondered and suddenly blurted out, Old Xiu, did you notice that Cheng won the game with a ha at the end? This must be the protection of some mysterious power. He sacrificed his own time. What? Qiu Zhigao was at a loss. Forget it. You're not a real fan. Zhao Cheng lowered his voice and sighed. We've been trying to please him along the way, but we're not as impressed as Cheng's 2 matches. Qiu Zhigao chuckled and said, that's normal, just like how you like beautiful, cute, and playful girls. I like to study. Zhao Cheng pushed up his black-rimmed glasses seriously. I'm going to start preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam now. So early? You're only a freshman. Qiu Zhigao was surprised. Zhao Cheng smiled slightly and put away all of his seriousness and indecency. He exhaled and said, I've thought it over very clearly. Everyone has their own characteristics and their own future. The postgraduate entrance exam is the most suitable for me. I can't follow others to practice martial arts just because others practice martial arts, right? It's better to prepare early than to cram for it. I'll slowly improve my inner qualities and abilities. There must be someone who likes me. Qiu Zhigao was stunned by the 3 questions in a row. He gasped and said, Cheng, why do I feel that you've developed a deeper thought? Zhao Cheng didn't say anything. He pushed up his black-rimmed glasses again, reflecting the sunlight through the window. When they were about to reach the tatami of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Lu Qing saw Li Mao taking the lead and applauding to welcome him back. Yan Jika, on the other hand, was smiling. Her eyes were twinkling, looking playful and joyful. In the applause, he found Lin Ke standing up and walking towards him. He raised his right hand with a smile and made a high-five gesture. Lin Ke was stunned and didn't slow down. When he was about to pass by Lu Cheng's right side, he reached out his hand and gave Lu Cheng a high-five. Come on. Lu Cheng said with a smile. In his mind, he added, brother-in-law. Lin Ke nodded and looked over Lu Cheng's shoulder to the arena, looking at his opponent. They passed by each other. Lu Cheng returned to the tatami and sat on Lin Ke's seat. Only Guo Qing was between him and Yan Jika. Awesome. Cheng, you're good. You'll definitely win the ranking event in April. Li Mao, Sun Jian and Chen Zhonghua gave him a thumbs up to express their admiration. Lu Cheng was very happy and refreshed. He was about to respond when he felt a sudden pain in his arms and hands. He quickly unbuttoned his shirt and rolled up his sleeves. He found some bruises, some red and swollen. His bones were also very sore. Are you okay? I brought some ointment in the locker room. Yan Jika looked at him and asked with concern. What? Hearing this, Li Mao, Lin Hua and the others immediately looked at Lu Cheng and Yan Jika, sizing them up. Yan Jika also realized that she was too active and became the center of attention. She blushed shyly and looked very beautiful. Lu Cheng's heart was beating fast. Applying ointment in the locker room? 2 people together? When she took out Lu Cheng's sneakers, she deliberately blocked his view with her back and quickly looked at the size. Then she lifted the corner of her mouth and went back with the shoes. What made you so happy? Lu Cheng asked curiously. Yan Jika said with a smile, if you didn't bring this pair of shoes, you would have to go back barefoot. Who would use martial arts shoes as a daily item? Lu Cheng answered with a relaxed body and mind. His socks were gloriously broken just now, so he had to wear shoes barefoot for the time being. Lu Cheng is so cool. Yan Shaoling sent a voice message to Brahman while staring at the replay on the screen. Brahman laughed crisply. The scene of him turning around barefoot perfectly matched my expectations and fantasies of a mysterious master. According to the commentator, the professional 9th pin fighter who lost is very strong, close to the dance stage. He is now praising our Lu Cheng crazily, saying that he is not only a genius, but also good at actual combat and seizing opportunities. Yan Shaoling was satisfied and wanted to give the commentator a thumbs up. While the 2 girls were talking and laughing, Yan Shaoling opened the web page and logged into the forum, preparing to create a post about the preliminaries. When the page refreshed, she suddenly rubbed her eyes, wondering if she had seen the wrong number. Yesterday, there were only 4 followers. How come there are 368 followers now? How many times had it increased? Brahman, go to the forum. I think there's something wrong with my eyes. Yan Shaoling sent a message to Brahman immediately. After a while, Brahman replied weakly, my eyes seem to have something wrong with them too. In the same forum, Unparalleled Dragon King quietly posted a post. Lu Cheng's data collection. Name, Lu Cheng. Occupation, student. Age, 19. School, Songqing University. Martial arts rank, strong professional 9th pin. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, most of the disciples and trainees had lost all hope. Only a few core disciples who knew Pan Qingyun's real strength still had a glimmer of hope, hoping that he could turn the situation around as a secret weapon. As long as he defeated Lin Ke, the 3rd fighter of Songqing University would not even reach amateur 1st pin. Pan Qingyun adjusted his breath and stood opposite Lin Quebec. Because it was the first time for both of them to fight, there was no problem of physical recovery, so even if there was no time to talk, the referee was not in a hurry to announce the start of the fight. Instead, he called the staff to clean up the arena, so as not to interfere with the following fight. After a while, he confirmed with the 2 fighters, then waved his right hand and said loudly, start. Pan Qingyun knew that his strength of professional 9th pin couldn't be hidden from Lin Ke for long, so he planned to go all out from the beginning to seize the opportunity when Lin Ke underestimated him. He visualized a spreading flame and ignited his whole body. He tightened his waist and back, pushed down, and put strength in his legs and feet. He suddenly pounced on Lin Ke for several meters. Lin Ke didn't retreat. He strode forward and suddenly stopped. He put strength in his feet, his body slightly trembled, his temples bulged, and his right arm pulled back. In a very short distance, he completed the eruption and electric shooting, and hit Pan Qingyun like a meteor. Pan Qingyun also completed the first eruption, as if he was holding a giant hammer, and hit down fiercely. Bang! When the 2 collided, Pan Qingyun felt like he was hit by a bomb. His whole body was shaking, his bones were trembling, his blood and qi were rolling, his internal organs were uncomfortable, and his fascia and muscles were unable to exert strength for a while. Lin Ke approached him, pulled out his left arm and stopped at his neck. Round 3, Lin Ke wins. The referee suddenly felt like laughing. This was even faster than the first round. The gap between a professional 9th pin and an amateur 1st pin was indeed huge. Lin Ke didn't look at Pan Qingyun. His expressionless face revealed a thoughtful expression, and he whispered to himself, just like him, I have to go all out from the beginning? While speaking, Lin Ke made an obeisance, turned around, and walked out of the ring with neither joy nor sadness. There was nothing to be happy about defeating an opponent of amateur 1st pin. Pan Qingyun stared blankly and suddenly wanted to shout loudly to announce the truth to everyone. I'm a professional 9th pin, not an amateur 1st pin. P.S. The book will be published in the early hours of the morning. Everyone, get your subscriptions and monthly tickets ready. There will be a speech for the book release later. Chapter 122. It was time for another book to be published. There was already a new page at 7 p.m., and there would be a VIP chapter at around 12:10 p.m. Normally speaking, at this time, I would talk about how hard I worked and how difficult it was to write this book. I would talk about my pitifulness and friendship in order to get more subscribers. But first, I would like to talk about something else, something that might cause the number of subscribers to drop. That was, don't have unnecessary expectations. I've already said that this book is a book of small scale, a book of medium to low-level martial arts. There won't be any battles between heaven and earth, no intense conflicts, and no grand schemes. Don't hold unnecessary expectations for these. The reason why I chose to publish the book for 2 months, 6,000 words a day, and 400,000 words a day, was to attract more readers. Also, I wanted to write out the book's style, rhythm, and main points so that the old readers would understand what kind of book it was, whether they would like it, and whether it was worth subscribing after it was published. I had always felt bad for everyone's money. I never wanted you to subscribe and support this book unconditionally just because of the books before it, even if you didn't like it. That would make me feel guilty. What I wanted was for you to only subscribe if you liked it. If you didn't like the style of this book, you could always wait for the next book. The next book would definitely be a different style and rhythm. There would always be something you like. There were many details in this book that I had wanted to write about for a long time. After the Fate Destroyer incident, didn't I say that I had the idea of writing about a fantasy city? Fantasy was arcane, and this was part of that city. Back then, I wanted to write about the technical flow of industrial layout, but now, I didn't have the passion, the idea, or the knowledge to do so. However, I often thought about the daily details in the book, smiled at them, and always wanted to write about them. Back then, I chose to write about arcane magic for 2 reasons. First, the change in the city was too big. Second, I was more passionate and motivated about arcane magic. Third, I didn't think that my writing skills back then were enough to write the daily details I wanted. I was afraid that I would only write a bunch of flowing accounts. After the tempering of the 3 books, it wasn't until the end of this life that I finally had the confidence to write a good daily life without deliberately creating conflicts. I could write something that was interesting in the mundane. At least for now, I barely managed to write it, and it was also the first time that I had the feeling of writing an essay that was filled with laughter and anger. This is a slow-paced book. I want to write about a young man named Lu Cheng. What kind of people he will meet, what will happen, what kind of feelings he will experience, what kind of friends he will have, what kind of enemies he will face, and what kind of person he will grow up to. Martial arts is important, but other things are equally important. The dark main line of this book is Lu Cheng's life. Every one of us will experience the life we are tasting or reminiscing from time to time. There was nothing wrong with that. I like to read it too. Nowadays, society was fickle and everyone was busy. The time left for reading was limited. Who would have the time to slowly create, contrast, and outline the characters? But if you read too much of this kind of thing, you would get tired of it. When I first came in contact with online novels, I was surprised by the variety of styles. No matter how special my tastes were at any stage, I could find what I wanted to read. I still remembered when I was moved. I still remembered many characters with different characteristics. I still remembered reading books in front of the computer and almost crying because of the plot. Now, there were definitely similar books, but they were getting fewer and fewer. I'm not boasting about how rare it is. I just want to say that I really want to write a book like this. There are details, daily life, hot-bloodedness, passion, touching feelings, memories, innocence, purity, and all kinds of living people. The only problem is that the pace will be very slow, and there will be fewer conflicts. This is King tragedy, but the results can be predicted. Also, I wanted to proudly say that I tried a new way of describing characters. I didn't want to say what kind of person Yen Jiko was. I didn't want to quickly create cute points and try to leave a deep impression in 1 or 2 chapters. Again, I violated the requirements of online novels. Instead, I started to outline little by little, using the chat and daily details to draw this girl. If you didn't like to read the dialogue, you might miss a little bit of her beauty. I hope that by the time I finished the outline, she would be liked by everyone. Well, about what you're worried about, I can only say that life is hard enough. I have too many regrets in the past. The book will definitely not be like this. I want to have a happy ending. This is a book that completely violates the trend and rhythm of online novels. I was actually mentally prepared for the result of subscriptions. But since I wanted to write it, then I'll write it. When I don't have to bend my back for 5 buckets of rice, when I'm still brooding over my shortcomings, when I'm still impulsive and passionate. I want to give myself a motto, and hope that I can always stick to it until I quit the online novel circle. That is, never be satisfied, always challenge. Actually, it can be said that I'm always looking for trouble. Alright, I've said a lot of nonsense. In the end, I still want to ask for subscriptions. I've never been shy about saying that I love money. I want to use my novels to earn money. I want to earn it standing. Well, I hope that my friends who like it will subscribe. I don't want the result to be too bad. As for outbursts, to be honest, the details and fighting are really hard to write. I've been racking my brain all day, looking for the feeling. Writing 9,000 is already close to my limit. I can only promise that on the first day, I'll update 4 chapters, 2 chapters in the morning, 3 chapters in the future, and at least 20 days in December. Finally, at the end, I'm asking for a monthly vote. I'm ambitious too. I still want to get a higher ranking so that more people will read this book. Also, welcome to my Weixin public account, Wuze 1985. I'll release a character image in the future. Chapter 123. Wang Hui, the principal of Hongluo Martial Arts School, looked at Jiang Guosheng, who came back with a depressed face, and then at Pan Qingyun, who was dumbstruck on the arena. He suddenly sighed deeply. It was good that they lost. It was a setback for them, so that they wouldn't become self-righteous if they always stayed in the Songqing Martial Arts School circle. As for redeeming their image and making a name for themselves, there were still 6 matches left. Moreover, losing 1 match didn't mean that they couldn't qualify for the next round. Later, he would ask a familiar reporter to take a picture and publish an article. The focus would be on the footprints and cracks on the bluestone ground, so as to show that Hongluo Martial Arts School was really capable. In Songqing TV station, professional commentator Fang Juexiao and guest of professional 7th Pin Gan Lo looked at each other. They didn't expect this match to end so quickly. Fortunately, it wasn't like this hadn't happened before in low-level professional matches. The TV stations would ask for a few matches to be aired at different times so that they could prepare for the broadcast. After the director's instructions, Fang Juexiao returned to normal. He smiled at the camera and said, "The 3rd match ended so quickly. I thought Lu Cheng's victory over Fang Tong was already very fast. I didn't expect this match to be even faster. But it seems that it's quite normal for a professional 9th pin to defeat an amateur 1st pin. So there's no need to be too surprised. There's nothing to rewind. We'll cut to the scene later and have our reporter do the post-match interview. Today, we saw the debut of a genius fighter and got to know this student named Lu Cheng. He went from having no foundation to defeating a professional 9th pin fighter in half a year. And his fighting style is tough, crazy, and fierce. We can directly feel the masculinity, courage, and confidence of a fighter. If we give him another half a year, or even a year, I can't imagine what will happen. It seems that it's not impossible for him to reach the Danqi state. Maybe in the near future, we'll really remember this young man's name. To be honest, I sympathize with Jiang Guosheng. In the martial arts circle of Songqing, he's quite famous and his strength has been recognized. He's only 1 step away from reaching the Dan state. But the reality is so cruel. The old will eventually make way for the young. This is especially obvious in the martial arts world. If you haven't reached the Dan state and are over 30 years old, you're really afraid of the young. Alas, this makes a middle-aged man like me sigh with a sense of crisis. 19 years old Lu Cheng and 19 years old Lin Ke are both genius fighters. Songqing University Martial Arts Club is about to set off a youth storm in the preliminaries. Although they're only in the body refining state now, things will really be different at this time next year or the year after. I'm thinking, if Songqing University Martial Arts Club doesn't recruit students, I'm afraid there will be a bunch of people paying money tomorrow. Of course, there will definitely be more students willing to join the martial arts club. After nagging for so long, let's summarize. Let's look forward to the next match of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Well, they'll go to Yimo and fight against Fearless Squad. This is a team spontaneously formed by several local fighters. They're also the favorite to advance from the group stage. Their main fighter is Wei Xingtian of professional 8th pin, Danqi State. Well, let's move on to the next match and wait for the post-match interview of Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Hongluo Martial Arts Club. Yan Shaoling looked at the increasing number of fans. She pinched her face and finally confirmed that she wasn't dreaming. Whether a martial arts competition was broadcasted on TV or on the internet, the difference in the number of viewers was like heaven and earth. Especially for those who watched the competition online, there would always be people who would search for it. Even if it was only 1/10 or a few tens of people, they would follow it for various reasons, which was still quite terrifying. And this was only the TV stations that weren't in the top 3 video websites that weren't on the internet. When there were more people, there would naturally be different voices. Yan Shaoling soon saw a post with the title, "Lu Cheng is too ungentlemanly, isn't he? Fighting like a street gangster, vicious, ugly and disgusting. Humph." Yan Shaoling suddenly felt that her lungs were about to explode. She opened the post and planned to scold, "No, be reasonable. I'm a civilized, gentle, polite and cute fan of Lu Cheng." The poster was called, "I Just Can't Stand." He wrote eloquently, greeting people between their legs for no reason. Lu Cheng is really dark. Doesn't he have the demeanor of a master? He even breathed in people's faces. Doesn't he find his mouth smelly? Yan Shaoling scrolled down and was about to reply when she saw, Unparalleled Dragon King, posted a picture of Dragon King breathing fire in his opponent's face. Dragon King passed by shamefully, he replied. A new follower named Nia Chichi followed closely with a picture of warrior sage Qian Donglu slapping his opponent's crotch. She added, warrior sage silently gave it a like. Blood-sucking cat followed closely. Dong Baxian was scared and called him an idiot. This sentence was followed by a picture of Yanzhao Hall Master Dong Baxian when he was young. Yan Shaoling read the replies one by one. Her anger gradually faded and she was constantly amused. She felt that the netizens of her forum were so talented. She suddenly felt that it was silly and cute to reason with them in a serious manner. So she exited the forum and pushed the post reported by her fans to the top. She replied, "Come and check in, everyone." At this moment, she was filled with a sense of achievement and happiness. She saw that the forum finally improved under her and Brahman's care. It was as if the two of them had accompanied Lu Cheng's growth bit by bit. Looking at the increasing number of fans, she laughed foolishly. Looking at it, she laughed foolishly. Looking at it, she laughed foolishly again. Shu Rui suddenly felt a toothache when she saw Lin Ke beat Pan Qingyun. Today's match was wonderful, but it was too short. Normally speaking, a 3-person selection match would last half an hour. If the match was a little longer, more anxious, and the strength of the two sides was about the same, and there were a little more matches, this goal could be easily achieved. But now, she looked at the watch on her wrist and found that the time was fixed at 3:11. And this match started at 3 o'clock sharp. Deducting 3 minutes of conversation time, cleaning up the arena, and deliberately extending the time in between, how long would the real battle last? And this was mainly focused on the second match, Lu Qing versus Jiang Guosheng. Those guys in the advertising department will draw circles and curse me. Shu Rui restrained her feelings and laughed at herself. She held the microphone and walked to Lin Ke, who was leaving the arena. She was quickly thinking about the interview in her mind. For Lin Ke, defeating a fighter of amateur first pin was nothing to say. It was not newsworthy. She had to change her angle. Stopping Lin Ke, Shu Rui handed him the microphone and smiled professionally. "Hello, Lin Quebec. I'm a reporter from Songqing TV station. I have a few questions to ask you. Your fighting style just now seemed a little different from before." As a reporter who focused on martial arts, she had a good eye. Lin Ke said coldly, "Shouldn't I go all out from the beginning?" "Well, you didn't do that before. And your opponent was of amateur first pin." Shu Rui almost choked. Pan Qingyun looked at them from the arena and heard the conversation. He felt sad. "I'm of professional ninth pin." To this question, Lin Ke answered matter-of-factly, "People change." That's so reasonable. I don't know what to say. Shu Rui smiled stiffly and changed the topic. What do you think of your teammate Lu Cheng's performance today? He even defeated the opponent's leading general. Is that out of your expectation? Lin Ke thought for a while and said, I do have some opinions, but I don't want to tell others. Shu Rui was dumbfounded. She stared blankly at Lin Ke, who nodded and brushed past her, heading for the tatami where the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was located. She had interviewed many Songqing martial artists, many of whom were eccentric. But she had never seen someone like Lin Ke. Was his character flawed? Or was he good at telling cold jokes? Only with comparison could one feel. At this moment, Shu Rui felt that Lu Cheng was a good interviewee, 100 times better than Lin Ke. She turned her eyes to the Songqing Martial Arts Club, intending to interview Lu Cheng and comfort herself. Huh? Where is Lu Cheng? Why wasn't he celebrating with everyone? Where had he run off to? Shu Rui was stunned for a moment. She suddenly felt that the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was too capricious. Couldn't they just accept an interview? Humph, if I hadn't proposed this competition, I would have slandered you. She couldn't find Lu Cheng, so she had to turn around and walk to the Hongluo Martial Arts School. She interviewed Wang Hui, Jiang Guosheng, and Fang Tong one by one. Wang Hui sighed and said, they are indeed very strong, but it's not like we don't have a chance. If we had known that Lu Cheng had the supernatural ability of fire, the result today might have been different. But no matter what, we still have to congratulate them. Jiang Guosheng smiled bitterly. It's my own problem. Lu Cheng was braver and more determined, so he deserved the victory. Me? I must be unwilling and sullen, but a failure is a failure. There is no excuse. I can only find the problem and try to change it. My joints have been set, but it will take about 2 weeks to recover. I hope Qing Yun and Fang Tong can shoulder the burden. There is nothing to say. I just want to have a chance to fight with them again. I won't be as careless as today. Fang Tong regained his spirit. Of course, through today's competition, I also found my own problem. A good opponent is a good mirror. After that, Shu Rui went to interview the audience randomly. Looking at her back, Pan Qingyun wanted to cry but failed to shed a tear. What about me? Won't you interview me? I'm not of amateur first pin, I'm of professional ninth pin. Wang Hui glanced at his last disciple and suddenly felt like laughing. His secret weapon was really a secret to the end. The Songqing University Martial Arts Club entered the locker room, interrupting Lu Cheng's enjoyment. Yan Jika put down the ointment and stood up. Her cheeks were red. She pretended to be calm and asked, "One? So fast?" Of course. His opponent is of amateur first pin. How much time can Lin Ke spend? Li Mao answered with a smile. Then he looked at Lu Cheng and began to jeer. You took away the treasure of our martial arts club. Don't you want to show some appreciation? Don't you want to treat us to a meal? Lu Cheng was disappointed because he didn't have the girl's hand to massage him. Hearing this, he answered shyly and happily, how about tonight? We can celebrate the victory. He didn't want to ask about Lin Ke's enemy. His opponent was of amateur first pin. His name was Pan, what was it again? While speaking, he looked at Yan Jika. The girl was shy and angry, but her eyes were bright. She snorted and turned her head aside. She didn't object to his proposal. This kind of thing must be approved by his girlfriend. We have activities on the weekend. It's still early. It's troublesome to gather us in the evening. How about tomorrow at noon? After the special training, we can go to the cafeteria together. We don't eat anything good, just a small fry. Hey, remember, this is not the purpose of your money. Sun Jian joked, but his girlfriend, Lin Hua, pinched him. A small fry in the cafeteria was at least half the price compared to the same amount in the restaurant. Seeing that Li Mao and others agreed, and Yan Jika didn't show any displeasure, Lu Qing immediately said, okay, tomorrow at noon. After that, they changed clothes and cleaned up. When Lu Qing came out of the bathroom, he saw Yen Jika standing in front of Lin Quebec. She put her hands together and made a cute begging gesture. Lin K was silent for a while and nodded slightly. Looking for an opportunity, he approached Yen Jika and asked in a low voice, "What did you ask your cousin for?" Yen Jika smiled shyly and said, "I asked him not to gossip and not to tell my family about us." "Your family doesn't want you to date in college?" Lu Qing asked sharply. Yen Jika nodded like a chick pecking at grains. "Yes, my parents all want me to focus on my studies in college and think about dating after graduation. But my mom didn't listen to my grandparents and stubbornly married my dad, didn't she?" "So?" Lu Qing asked. Yen Jika slightly raised her chin and turned her head aside. She snorted and said, "Like mother, like daughter." Looking at her proud and shy expression, Lu Qing was moved and warm. He just wanted to hold her in his arms and give her a gentle kiss, pouring all his feelings into it. Considering that Yen Jika hadn't completely adapted to the situation in front of so many people, he just reached out his hand and quietly grasped Yen Jika's delicate hand. They looked at each other and exchanged 1,000 words. After a few minutes, Yen Jika saw that everyone was done. She quickly retracted her hand and looked up. "I'm going shopping with Qing later. I'll treat you to a meal in the cafeteria tonight. We'll hold a celebration party for you." "Okay." Lu Qing wanted to say that he would accompany her, but considering that the blabbermouth and straightforward Guo Qing would be in the middle, he gave up. He still had 2 pairs of martial arts shoes, which were enough for now. He didn't need to rush to buy them. When he had time, he would use this as an excuse to go out with Yen Jika. Chapter 124. Clap, clap, clap. Seeing that the preliminaries had finished packing up, Geezer clapped several times to attract everyone's attention. This old man won't say anything about winning at the start. The preliminaries have just begun, and there are still many matches to go. We can't always be immersed in our victories. As humans, we have to look forward, right? He poured cold water on the cheerful atmosphere. Our next match is still an away game. We'll go to Yimo, which is not far away. It's only 40 to 50 minutes by train. We'll go there on the same day and come back on the same day. We'll save money for our stingy school. Sun Jian didn't get a chance to fight today and had nowhere to vent his energy. He asked excitedly, "Coach Shi, which martial arts club is our opponent?" "It's not a martial arts club. It's a team formed by several outstanding local young fighters who broke the barrier between martial arts clubs. The leading fighter is called Wei Xingtian. He's at Danqi State and professional 8th pin. His goal is to get a place in the division and get a unique martial arts skill as a reward. There are 2 fighters of professional 9th pin and their substitutes are all above amateur 3rd pin. They're the most popular team." Geezer took out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket and read a few words. Although his description was very strong, it didn't make people feel that he was very serious. 1 of professional 8th pin and 2 of professional 9th pin. Lu Qing suddenly felt that the future of this competition was not bright. However, the goal of his own martial arts club was the National University Martial Arts Competition. The preliminaries were only a way to practice. Overall, winning or losing was not important. Facing a master and suffering setbacks was definitely more rewarding than facing a weak and winning all the way. Even with such a lineup, there was still a big gap between them and Shanbei University Martial Arts Club. Whether they could beat Sanjiang College or not depended on whether they could restrain the supernatural ability of the opponent. "Coach, can you tell us more?" Young people were not afraid of failure and didn't have any goals for the preliminaries. Li Mao and others were not scared but asked with interest. Geezer coughed twice. "I'll send their relevant information to your mailbox tomorrow. Take your time to read it. Why not send it today? Don't you want to leave some time to enjoy the taste of victory?" Hearing this sentence, Lu Cheng and the others found it funny, but the excitement and joy of defeating Hong Luo Martial Arts School was restored. They looked at each other, opened their throats, and shouted a few times, shouting out the passion and youth of Zhang Yang, victory. Songqing University will win. His voice traveled out of the changing room, making the spectators who were leaving feel bitter and aggrieved. They couldn't wait for the two sides to fight again. The school bus left the parking lot and slowly drove to the entrance of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Lu Qing reluctantly waved goodbye to Yan Zhika and Guoqing. He didn't board the bus until they got on the online taxi. Guoqing, that third wheel. Sun Jian, who was sitting next to Lin Hua, sighed with emotion and complained for Lu Qing. Then he turned around and said with a smirk, "Dear, it's still early. Why don't we go for a date? Seeing the sweetness between Cheng and Yan Zhika reminds me of our youth. Let's go. Let's go on a date." "Screw you." Lin Hua pinched Sun Jian fiercely, but was still pulled away by him. She shyly waited for the taxi. Chen Zhanghua, Li Mao, and the other single dogs didn't say anything. They all raised their middle fingers at Sun Jian's silhouette. Lu Cheng was angry and amused at the same time. He suddenly regretted not going with Yan Zhika. "Why are you afraid of the third wheel?" He looked around and found that Kai Zongming hadn't got on the bus yet. When he was about to take out his phone to ask, he received a call from Little Ming. "Hey, the bus is leaving. Hurry up." Lu Qing hurriedly reminded him as soon as the call was answered. Kai Zongming laughed and said, "I won't take the school bus back. Model worker has a girlfriend, right? He said he's going to treat our dormitory and his girlfriend's dormitory to dinner. You know, model worker's family is not rich, and he needs to save money for a date. So we decided to split the bill. Do you want to go? Let's find a place to sing karaoke and then eat hot pot. In this damn weather, it's so cold when the sun goes down. Hot pot is better. Hey, are you going or not? I don't have the space to say anything. How can I answer, talker?" Lu Qing complained, "I'd better not go. I'm going to meet Yan Zhika at the cafeteria for dinner." "Hello, Cheng." "Goodbye, Cheng." Kai Zongming teased. "Since you're dating now, shouldn't you treat us to a meal? Model worker is so self-conscious today." "Huh, I'll treat you when I'm free." Lu Cheng had decided to treat them to the cafeteria stir-fry. He had to save money and use it where it was needed most. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, Kai Zongming hung up the phone and spread his hands to Zhang Jingya, Wu Qian, and the others. "Cheng is on a date. He can't join us." "A date?" "He got Yan Zhika." Qiu Zhigao opened his mouth and was full of astonishment. Since he chatted with Guoqing from time to time, he was certain that Lu Cheng was pursuing Yan Zhika. However, he always felt that girls at that level would not be interested in Lu Cheng. Cheng's martial arts strength had increased rapidly, and he had become confident and elegant. It was only this semester, but he would have to spend at least a year or so pursuing her. But this guy got both martial arts and love at the same time. What did he do to move Yan Zhika, who had so many pursuers? Kai Zongming nodded with a smile. Yes, he has been pursuing her since last semester. Finally, his hard work pays off. Zhao Chang was stunned for a while and blurted out, "Damn, he's a winner in life." Wu Qian asked curiously, "Is it the beautiful girl in the martial arts club?" "Yes, I didn't think it was possible at that time. But how can you know it's impossible if you don't try? What if? What if a blind cat bumps into a dead mouse? What if the girl is blind?" Even if Lu Cheng was not in front of him, Kai Zongming could not restrain his impulse to tease him. But in the end, he said, "Ah, I'm envious of you. A foreign dog. You also have a girlfriend?" One of Wu Qian's roommates asked with a smile. Kai Zongming nodded slightly and answered frankly and humorously, "Of course. Do I look like the kind of guy who doesn't have a girlfriend? Like this one, this one?" Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao couldn't stand the teasing and hurriedly said, "Let's go. Don't waste time." Kai Zongming laughed and said, "Yeah, this is a hostile place. All the members of the martial arts club have left. If we stay here, we'll be beaten up. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a chill in his surroundings. He saw that the disciples and students of Hongluo Martial Arts School were looking at him and the others with a complicated expression. He was immediately frightened and quickly led the others out of the martial arts school. Facing the remaining sunlight of the afternoon, he said in a tone as if he had escaped from heaven, "Let's go and have fun." In the car, Guoqing could no longer suppress her doubts and asked, "Ku, why do you suddenly want to go shopping?" Yan Jika loosened her ponytail and flipped her hair. She turned to look out of the window and said with a smile, "Cheng's shoes are broken, oh." Guoqing suddenly understood and then said with inexplicable grief and indignation, "Do you have to stimulate a single dog like me?" My eyes were blinded by the flash. Yan Jika's shyness was dispelled by Guoqing's reaction. She pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Then you should get it quickly." Guoqing sighed, "Why don't you have a flirting tutorial? I want to knock old Xiao out with a stick and drag him back." Seeing Guoqing looking at her, Yan Jika laughed and said, "What's the use of looking at me? I've never chased a guy before. You need to find a master to guide you. Qing, your facial features are actually not bad. Dress up a little and don't wear clothes that show off your arms and legs. I'm sure you can find a boyfriend." Yes, I think so too." Guoqing was a straightforward and optimistic person. In the blink of an eye, she put this matter behind her. In the shopping mall, Yan Jika took Guoqing to shop here and there. She compared martial arts shoes carefully as if she was carrying out an important task. The school bus was running. It was empty. Lu Qing occupied 2 seats by himself. He basked in the sun and took a nap. Occasionally, he woke up to chat with Yan Jika. He felt warm and lazy. This was what a weekend should be like. After arriving at the new campus, he said goodbye to Li Mao, Lin Kei, and the others and went back to his own dormitory. Li Mao stood there and watched them leave. The scene of the competition just now was surging in his mind. It was fixed on the scene when Lu Cheng and Jiang Guoxing fought and broke their martial arts shoes. He thought about himself and his nervousness every time. Suddenly, he felt afraid that he would be left behind by everyone and never be able to catch up with them again. Then he would never be able to make up for the mistakes he made last year. Well, if I practice a few more times, it will become an instinct. No matter how nervous I am, I can use it naturally. Li Mao took a deep breath and stepped forward. He didn't go back to his dormitory, but to the martial arts gym of Songqing University. Not long after, he carried a change of clothes and stepped through the entrance of the martial arts arena. It was not empty inside. During the weekend, many students came to exercise. They could use everything here, except for the locker room. Li Mao looked around and walked to the men's locker room first. When he was about to take out the key to open the door, a shadow suddenly appeared beside him. Senior brother Chen. He turned his head and was surprised to find that it was Chen Zhanghua. "Why are you here?" Chen Zhanghua smiled bitterly. "I couldn't sit still after watching the 2 junior brothers' competition. I will participate in the professional ranking event in April. I am 100% sure that I will meet Lu Cheng. I just hope that we won't be in the same group. Alas, I thought that the training in the morning was not intense and I could practice in the afternoon. So I decided to come here." "You too?" "Yeah." Li Mao smiled tacitly. "This is our weekend." Back in his dormitory, Lu Cheng turned on his computer and clicked on the browser. He wanted to see what changes had happened to his private forum after the live broadcast. 413 fans. He looked at the number in disbelief. There are 413 people supporting me now? This was the number of students from 7 or 8 classes in high school. He scrolled down and found that there were not as many posts and active IDs as he had expected. But this was normal. The silent ones were always the majority, and those who followed him were not necessarily his supporters. He read every post and was amused by the talented answers of the forum members. He was shocked by the fact that unparalleled Dragon King had become his fan. He was moved by the adorable, eternal Nightfall, and a Brahmin, who were trying to maintain order. He picked up his phone from time to time and chatted with Yenjika, intending to share this matter with her during dinner. Lu Qing also read the chat group of the Longhu Club forum and said a few words. He was caught by Wonton's seller and asked curiously, "Little tiger, why did you disappear again recently?" "I am in love," Lu Qing said with a funny face. He couldn't wait to tell the whole world about his happiness. "Yo, you have a girlfriend so soon? College students nowadays are really making us old guys envious." Road to the arena, and others joked. Brahman even urged Lu Qing to post a photo, but was mercilessly and cruelly refused. Okay, don't force little tiger. He is very shy." Wonton seller snickered. At this time, road to the arena, at the moderator, pig riding, "We have known each other for a long time. When are we going to organize a meetup?" "Okay, how about after little Wonton finishes her college entrance examination?" Pig riding night answered quickly. "Wow. After I finish my college entrance examination," Wonton seller said happily. The focus of the group of people's discussion soon shifted to the meetup. Lu Qing watched silently, occasionally interrupting leisurely. Sometimes, he would brag with Fatty Jiang and the others, and sometimes, he would call his mother and tell her that he had won the competition. For him, this feeling was very comfortable. He was not only the calm and fierce Lu Qing in the arena, a genius fighter who defeated strong opponents consecutively, but he was also a living person with his own social circle, his own daily life, his own happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy. Similarly, the people around him also had their own lives. In their own world, they were also the protagonists. When all these things were intertwined, it was called life. The leisure afternoon passed quickly. Lu Qing received a message from Yenjika. "I am back. Wait for me at the intersection of Red Maple Road outside the first cafeteria. P.S. I am asking for monthly votes. There are more in the day." Chapter 125. Red Maple Road Crossing? Why not wait in the cafeteria? It's so cold outside. Lu Qing was confused, but he didn't care. Wearing his daytime clothes, he quickly ran to the bathroom and put cold water on his face to make himself more energetic. He went downstairs, and walked all the way to the destination. He didn't have to look for Yenjika deliberately. He found her among the boys who came and went in front of him. She was sitting on a wooden bench outside the red maple forest, bathing in the afterglow of the setting sun. She was looking at her phone with her black hair hanging down, peaceful and beautiful, like a flawless picture. Lu Qing almost held his breath for fear of breaking the beautiful picture. But the anxiety in his heart urged him to quickly come to Yenjika's side. He blurted out, "Are you cold? Hey, what kind of greeting is this? Isn't this what I was worried about just now?" Looking at him, who was a little dumbfounded, Yenjika stood up, looked around, lowered her head and laughed. "My quilted jacket is quite warm." She was wearing a pink quilted jacket, full of the air of a young girl. Without waiting for Lu Qing to answer, she looked to the side and pointed to the paper bag on the ground as if nothing had happened. "When I was shopping with Ah Qing, I happened to see a martial arts shoe store on sale. I thought your shoes were broken, so I bought a pair. You can try it on." While talking, a suspicious blush appeared on her face. Lu Qing was stunned at first, and then he felt a burst of joy in his heart, like a rolling mountain rock, crushing all other thoughts. "She bought it specially for me, didn't she? Or why didn't she mention it earlier or later? Why did she say she was going shopping with Guo Qing just after the competition? Or why did she happen to see a martial arts shoe sale?" Glancing at his happy and enlightened expression, Yenjika flew into a rage out of humiliation. "I just happened to see it. Where do you think you are going?" Before she finished her words, she suddenly felt a shadow in front of her, and then she was embraced by a thick chest. "You! she shouted in a low voice, struggling and twisting. Lu Cheng heard that she didn't use much strength, so he held her firmly and refused to let go. Yenjika tried a few times, but failed. She clenched her fist and hit Lu Cheng's shoulder playfully. How can you hug me like that? In public. Because I was too excited and happy. Lu Cheng impulsively hugged the girl. Looking at her silky black hair, smelling the waves of fragrance, feeling the light and delicate body, he gradually came to a decision. The excitement just now had lost its intensity, but it had become long-lasting. Everything seemed to have quieted down. Lu Cheng wanted to kiss her hair quietly, but Yenjika was still not comfortable enough. Worried about the eyes of the passers-by, she struggled again and said in a flirtatious tone, "Hurry up and try on your shoes." Knowing that the girl was thin-skinned, Lu Cheng didn't ask again. He loosened his arms and sat on the bench with a smile that wouldn't fade away. He took out the shoe box from the paper bag. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a few boys passing by with disappointment. They seemed to have found that a good cabbage had been eaten by a dog. Until now, Lu Cheng finally understood why Yenjika didn't wait in the cafeteria. It felt weird to try on shoes when everyone was eating. After putting on the shoes, he stood up and walked a few steps. He put on the stance and tested the feeling of strength. He praised sincerely, "It suits you very well. It suits you better than the previous pairs of martial arts shoes. How did you know my size?" Seeing that he was really satisfied, Yenjika pursed her pink lips and slightly raised her chin. She said with a little pride, "I am a mountain master with divine foresight." Lu Cheng vaguely guessed that she had peeked at his shoes when she was helping him take them out today. But he didn't want to spoil the fun. He laughed and said, No, it's not me." "Then what is it?" Yenjika was confused. Lu Cheng pretended to be serious and said, "It's me, a mountain master with divine foresight." Pfft. Yenjika couldn't help but laugh and turned her head. She said with hatred, "I didn't expect you to be such a mushy Cheng." After flirting for a while, Lu Cheng changed back to his old shoes. He said with joy and embarrassment, "I don't want to wear this pair of shoes. It's the first gift you gave me. What if it breaks?" He had already made up his mind to wear this pair of shoes when he was practicing martial arts. Yenjika snickered and said, "If it breaks, you have to collect the pieces and stick them on yourself. Then you can worship them." On this topic, the two chatted and walked hand in hand into the cafeteria. They chose a small pot of stir-fry. After dinner, Lu Cheng didn't want to be separated from the girl. He said in a low voice, "I remember you don't have class tonight?" "Yes." Yenjika answered with a smile. "What do you want to say?" Lu Cheng suggested, "Didn't I say I would be your sparring partner this weekend? Yesterday we had a date and today we have a competition. I don't have time to do it. Coincidentally, I don't have class tonight either. How about we go to the martial arts club to practice?" After personally experiencing the atmosphere of the challenge tournament as a substitute, Yenjika was indeed eager to give it a try. Hearing Lu Cheng's words, she hesitated for a minute before saying, "Okay then. Anyway, I haven't been back to the dormitory yet, and I still have my martial arts suit with me. I won't go back to get my martial arts suit. I don't need to be so formal as a sparring partner. Besides, I also have the martial arts shoes you gave me. It's a good chance to experience it." Lu Cheng said happily, "Let's walk there and digest first." He lifted all the bags and naturally picked up the girl's left hand with his right hand. Their fingers intertwined and they walked towards the long bridge. "By the way, I have a fan forum now." Lu Cheng remembered this and said with a little bit of pride. Yenjika opened her mouth slightly and said in a cute way, "Fan forum? Yours?" Why couldn't these two words be connected? Yes, fans who supported me because they watched my challenge tournament. They established it themselves. Lu Cheng clarified, afraid that Yenjika would misunderstand that he had tricked the little girl into becoming his fan. "Really?" Yenjika withdrew her hand with excitement and curiosity. She took out her phone and said, "Where? Where is it?" After saying this, she pouted and mocked herself. "It should be out if I search your name." "I'm so stupid." She searched for Lu Cheng and found the forum. She clicked in and read the post carefully. Lu Cheng had an ulterior motive. He reached out and held her waist with the excuse that he was afraid that she would fall. Because it was winter and she was wearing a lot of clothes, he couldn't feel her slender body. These two moderators are so funny. I feel like they are little girls. Yan Jika turned her head and looked at Lu Cheng with bright eyes. "Cheng, you have so many fans who support you before I know it. I didn't expect it either," Lu Cheng said sincerely. Yan Jika chuckled. "I'll be your fan too." "Well, let's register an ID first. What should I call it?" "It should be simple, plain, generous and direct." Simple, plain, generous and direct? Lu Cheng racked his brain and helped to think of a nickname. At this moment, Yan Jika laughed and said, "I've got it." "What's your name?" Lu Cheng asked curiously. Yan Jika took the phone to the other side and said with her back to Lu Cheng, "After I reply to the post, you can see it yourself." This made Lu Cheng's heart itch even more. He calmed down and waited for a while. When he heard Yan Jika say, "Done," he quickly took out his mobile phone and entered the forum. He saw a signpost with a new reply. The reply was called Lu Cheng's girlfriend. He was stunned and his mouth twitched. He looked at Yan Jika with a smile. So simple and plain. So generous and direct. Of course. Yan Jika smiled and raised her head slightly. In another room in another city, Yan Shaoling also saw this ID and blurted out, "My sister is so awesome." It was still early. There were many teachers and students in the martial arts stadium who came to work out. Yan Jika changed into her martial arts suit and Lu Cheng took off his coat and new shoes. They found a secluded corner and started to simulate actual combat. During this process, Lu Cheng not only had to defend with all his might, but he also had to attack with all his might. Since there was no referee, he had to strictly control his strength and discretion. In the beginning, he was very cautious, afraid that he would hurt the girl. As time went by, he gradually grasped the threshold, and his control of his body seemed to have deepened. He felt that he could do whatever he wanted without breaking the rules. Yan Jika's footwork was light and fast. Using her spine as a whip, she drove the rebound force from her feet and hit Lu Cheng's head with a cut punch. Lu Cheng lifted his shoulder, put his left arm up and rotated his waist. His muscles and joints shook together and he suddenly exerted force, imitating Jiang Guosheng's swing force. This was his 7th or 8th attempt. He didn't succeed before. Relying on his rich experience in actual combat, he didn't give Yan Jika any chance. But after several failures, he had mastered some tricks. Bang! Yan Jika's cut punch hit Lu Cheng's arm, but as if she was pushed, she lost her balance and stumbled to the side. Lu Cheng was afraid that she would fall, so he caught up with her in one stride. He reached out and grabbed her forearm. With a skillful move, he pulled her back to lean against him. As she leaned against him, their eyes met. Lu Cheng was close to Yan Jika's soft and light body. Looking into her watery eyes, he suddenly felt that the surroundings were quiet. Yan Jika also seemed to feel the strangeness. Her eyelashes trembled a few times as if she was a little shy. Lu Cheng could smell her warm and sweet scent. Unconsciously, his breathing became heavy. He did not know if other people would want to be intimate because of the burst of emotions when they made eye contact. He only knew that he was most likely a beast, and emotions were only a part of the reason. Most of it was because he felt that the girl was very beautiful and seemed to be very fragrant, sweet, and alluring. He wanted to kiss her. His breath became heavier and heavier. His eyes became hot and his heart beat faster and faster, full of desire and anxiety. His head unconsciously moved closer to the girl. Thump, thump, thump. Yan Jika couldn't tell whose heartbeat it was. It seemed that she couldn't bear such a close approach and didn't dare to look into Lu Cheng's hot eyes. Her cheeks turned red, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. Then she slowly closed her eyes. The closer they got, the closer they got, the closer they were. Lu Qing held his breath. When he was about to touch her, he suddenly heard a loud bang. Yen Jika was awakened. She pushed him away and stepped back like a little white rabbit. She was shy and timid. Lu Qing was disappointed and angry. He turned to the source of the sound. Not far away, two boys were practicing back throws. I have to teach them a lesson and tell them to practice carefully without professional guidance in case they get hurt. Lu Qing gasped. Yen Jika laughed and rolled her eyes at him. She said with a red face, "Let's go back. We have been practicing for almost an hour." Lu Qing said with an exaggerated expression, "What a pity. I don't know when I will have another chance." Yen Jika pursed her lips and looked at the sky. She said in a coquettish yet angry tone, "Let's wait patiently." After taking a shower and changing clothes, the two strolled back to the dormitory, enjoying the tranquility and beauty of the night. No matter how long the journey was, it would be over eventually. Lu Qing and Yen Jika stood at the door of their dormitory, reluctant to leave. Suddenly, Yen Jika playfully puffed her cheeks and said, "Close your eyes." "Why?" Lu Qing asked subconsciously. Yen Jika glanced at him and said, "No reason. Just close your eyes." Lu Qing suddenly thought of her shy initiative when they held hands for the second time. His heart suddenly beat faster. Is she going to take the initiative to kiss me? He closed his eyes and held his breath, looking forward to the beautiful scene. At this moment, he felt his mouth being flicked. He opened his eyes in surprise and saw Yen Jika laughing happily while escaping back to the dormitory. "Huh, it wants to bully me." Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. He watched Yen Jika walk back to the dormitory with light steps, turning his head every few steps. If I had achieved the initial level of ice mirror and could sense it, I would have grabbed her hand, pulled her into my arms, and kissed her fiercely. Standing outside the dormitory, he touched his lips in disappointment and was full of motivation to practice martial arts. P.S. Third update. Thank you all for your tips. Thank you all league leaders. I ask for more votes next month. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Please support me. Chapter 126. The pedestrian street was brightly lit, and all the shops were still open. The pedestrians were full of youthful spirit. Lu Qing carried the paper bag with the shoebox and slowly walked around. He calmed down and looked around with interest from a bystander's point of view. Did that guy not eat? He's wolfing down the sausages. That couple is probably his senior brother and sister. They found a secluded corner and dared to kiss until the sky turned dark. He took out his phone from time to time to reply to Yen Jika's messages. He listened to her complain that she had just learned that she had to hand in her homework in advance. When Lu Qing returned to the dormitory leisurely, Kai Zongming, Qiu Zhigao, and the others hadn't returned yet. The small dormitory was quiet and peaceful. He took out the shoe box and looked at it gently for a while. His mouth unconsciously outlined an obvious curve. A gift from Yen Jika. A gift from Yen Jika. After a moment of smirk, he looked for the receipt. He was afraid that the girl had spent too much money. However, there was nothing extra in the paper bag or the shoe box. Obviously, Yen Jika had taken it away carefully. But it's not a problem for me. Lu Qing smiled and turned on the computer. He searched for the brand and series and found the official website and the relevant page. So expensive. Even with the discount, it should be at least 700 or 800 yuan. He looked at the screen and said to himself. Martial arts shoes were purely consumable items for professional martial artists. No matter how good the material was, as long as it wasn't some kind of black technology, it would still break down after a few intense battles. Therefore, the price of normal martial arts shoes was on the lower side. 200 to 300 yuan was already considered pretty good. Most martial artists would at most equip themselves with a pair of shoes made of better and more comfortable material for their daily training. That way, they could last for a long time. Lu Qing looked at the pair of martial arts shoes with a little warmth and happiness. He couldn't bear to part with them. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. I have to give her a gift too. The first gift as a boyfriend. Once the thought came to him, he couldn't stop it anymore. He looked at the screen and fell into deep thought, thinking about what gift to give Yenjika. She doesn't seem to lack anything. I can't ask Talker. The first gift has to have my own feelings. As a young man in the internet age, he subconsciously opened the search page and typed in the words, gift for girlfriend. He watched and learned carefully to stimulate his inspiration. At this moment, the sound of a key turning came from outside, and the door was opened. A burst of noisy footsteps approached from afar. Lu Qing withdrew his gaze and looked at the door. He saw Zhao Cheng push the door open and enter. Kai Zhongming and Xiao Zhigao each supported Zhang Jingye and followed closely behind. Their faces were as red as cooked crabs, and the smell of alcohol filled their nostrils. You drank a lot. Lu Qing laughed. Zhao Cheng shook his head. It's fine. You don't know, but each of those girls can drink more than the other. If they didn't know how to restrain themselves, would have crawled under the table today. It's not that they're restraining themselves, it's that they're smart. If they really get drunk by drinking with a few guys they're not familiar with, who's going to send them back? In the end, they still have to trouble themselves. Kai Zhongming sneered. Although his face was red, he was not drunk and was quite sober. Lu Qing chuckled. So the model worker was targeted? Isn't that obvious? He is the star of the show today. After Kai Zhongming and Xiao Zhigao helped Zhang Jingye to sit down in his chair, one went to get a foot basin. Fearing that Zhang Jingye could not help but vomit, the other wet a towel and helped him apply it to his face. After a while, Zhang Jingye barely recovered and smiled bitterly. I always thought that my drinking capacity as a Northwest man was enough to deal with 4 little girls. In the end, I'm only a little better than Wu Qian. Your wife is also drunk? Why don't they just send you to the bridal chamber? Lu Qing joked. Qiao Zhigao said helplessly, because we're also a little dizzy from drinking. After teasing and laughing for a while, Zhao Cheng suddenly looked at Lu Qing and asked curiously, Cheng, with your current skills, you're worth 10,000 a month, right? Lu Qing thought for a while and said, almost. According to the related posts he saw when he was lurking in the Longhu Club forum, the monthly salary of a professional 9th pin fighter was at least 10,000 yuan. Including the prize money from the challenge tournament and various competitions, those who were lucky could earn up to 300,000 to 400,000 yuan a year, and those who were poor could earn up to 100,000 yuan. This was not including the part of the business of martial arts school or the entanglement with the underworld, but it was already so much above the ordinary white-collar workers. Of course, people like Jiang Guosheng and Fang Tong would get a big discount because they were in their master's martial arts club. But correspondingly, the martial arts club would bear the cost of practicing martial arts. After entering the Dan stage and crossing the threshold of professional 9th pin, the income would surge again. However, since this stage covered professional 8th pin to professional 4th pin, there was a big gap between their strength and their income. A professional fighter who had just entered professional 8th pin could get 5 or 600,000 a year, and it was not surprising that a veteran 4th pin fighter could get 6 or 7 million, and this was only the part that was announced. It did not include the various industries they were involved in because of their strength. As for the mighty ones of physical invulnerability, they could not be measured by money. Their annual salary from their own forces was probably pocket money. Even so, this part of the income was at least 10 million. Because of this, the prize money of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament could effectively exclude the strong. Only the nearby professional 9th pin fighters or those who were in urgent need of money would participate. For children like Lu Qing who had suffered hardships, every time they thought of this income, their motivation to practice martial arts would be stronger. Hearing the affirmative answer, Zhao Cheng could not help but sigh. I always feel that you and I are not in the same world. I can only say, Lu Cheng was puzzled by his pause. Zhao Chang turned back and chuckled. Don't forget your friends when you are rich. Of course, who are we? If you master the skills, succeed in your business and become a big boss in the future, you can't forget us. Lu Cheng followed and made a joke. After joking with each other for a while, they sent Zhang Jingye to bed and went to wash their faces and sober up. When Lu Cheng walked to the living room, he saw Kai Zongming standing by the glass door to the balcony, staring outside. Talker, why did you talk so little just now? It's not like you, he said with concern. Kai Zongming smiled and said, I'm a little sad because of your words. What are you sad about? Lu Cheng was puzzled and laughed. Kai Zongming sighed and said, I said before that I like martial arts and wanted to try if I could take this path. I mean it. My dad always wants me to go back to our small town and help him take care of his company, but this is not what I want. Wow, you are really rich. Lu Cheng said sarcastically, why don't you want it? So many people are looking forward to such a good thing. Kai Zongming shook his head and laughed. Do you think it's good? If you always work with your parents, you will feel that you are not growing up. And you will definitely not be financially independent. How much you earn is in their eyes and under their control. Although you can ask them for money when you are not enough, don't you feel sullen? If there is a disagreement, you won't have the confidence to argue with them, unless you wait until my dad retires. But he is only in his 40s and is in good health. He can work for another 20 years. Also, when I think about what kind of life I will lead in the next few years or so, I feel scared. I'm scared that I will accept reality and return to our small, run-down city like a pool of stagnant water. So, I have to work hard now and try to find my own path in martial arts. If I can't, I will consider starting my own business in the future. I won't accept reality until I am exhausted. Speaking of this, he looked at Lu Cheng with a bright smile and said, Cheng, I really envy you. You can continue to make me envy you. Lu Cheng was touched by his words and punched Kai Zongming's shoulder. Come on. Kai Zongming also punched him back. Godfather. Lu Cheng's expression suddenly became sluggish. He felt that the atmosphere was ruined by talker. He gnashed his teeth and said, get lost. The next morning, Lu Cheng became more and more focused on cultivation. Combined with the inward vision brought by the Jin Dan, he slowly expanded his senses and comprehended the ice mirror visualization bit by bit. The anxiety of not being able to get started had completely faded away. Later on, he gradually touched the edge of the Thunder Roar Zen. Gieserscher looked at him and sighed. I thought you would be obsessed with beauty and relax your requirements for a short time. I didn't expect you to be more diligent. She is my motivation. Lu Cheng answered seriously and sincerely. Gieserscher nodded with satisfaction. Then I am relieved. How about this, I will set a small goal for you. What small goal? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Gieserscher laughed. In the competition with Fearless Squad, I don't expect you to win the whole game. But if you and Lin K face Wei Xingtian, the one of professional 8th pin, in your best condition, I want you to take him down by attrition battle. It was not shameful to admit that there was a big gap between himself and the Danchi state. And thinking that he and Lin K would challenge Wei Xingtian again and try to defeat him, Lu Cheng was full of anticipation. Why didn't he dare to think about it? Why didn't he dare to try? Who's afraid of who? He nodded hard and answered his master, okay. In Yimo City Martial Arts Gym, Wei Xingtian was topless, revealing his well-defined muscles. His skin was a little greenish-black, as if cast from stone. Are you okay? He asked the slightly vexed big boy in front of him. Qiao Yang was fair and clean. He looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. He said sullenly, I can't use my left hand. But if we really fight in the next round, I can still fight. Wei Xingtian sighed and said, if I had known, I wouldn't have let you be the vanguard. Once you fight 2 rounds in a row, your fighting style will hurt yourself too easily. You won't fight in the next round against Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Rest well. Old Dong and I can handle it, no problem. Thinking that Songqing University Martial Arts Club only had 2 professional 9th pin fighters, Chiu Yang did not insist and agreed. Okay, Brother Wei, I will be your cheerleader. P.S. 4th update, monthly votes. Don't be afraid of others with red envelopes. Many grains make a tower, many little grains make a mickle. Relying on the power of humanity, half of the friends who subscribed will get 2 monthly votes each. Chapter 127. At noon, Lu Qing turned on his computer and logged into his mailbox to download the information of Fearless Squad sent by his master. He had just invited all the members of the special martial arts training to a meal to celebrate the victory against Hongluo Martial Arts School yesterday, and also as an apology for abducting the treasure of the martial arts school. Because most of them were guys with amazing appetites, even if the cafeteria's single pot of stir-fry, they still ate more than 600 yuan, not including the wine he gave to Geezer Shi. After the meal, Sun Jian, Li Mao and the others found him and said that the treat was just a joke and that the main purpose was to split the meal. They wanted to give him more money. After all, they were all students without a stable source of income and lived on the money given by their families. It was really not good to eat half a month's worth of food expenses in one meal. Lu Qing had the prize money of the Warrior Sage Challenge Tournament and New Year's money, and also the living expenses that his mother specially increased to 2,000 yuan. He appreciated their kindness and said that since he had promised, he should really do it. Li Mao and Sun Jian also searched for this junior brother's information and knew that he earned a lot from the challenge tournament during the winter vacation. Seeing that he insisted, they didn't force him. After such a meal, Lu Qing was completely familiar with the senior brothers and sisters of the senior grade. Under their teasing, Yan Zhika gradually became thick-skinned and no longer shy and timid, and could proudly respond to their teasing. This allowed Lu Qing to be close to her from time to time and didn't have to worry about her being afraid of other people's eyes. When the parties involved feel nothing about something, the onlookers will lose the fun of teasing. Recalling Yan Zhika's arrogance just now, Lu Qing wore a fascinated smile. After the download of the information, he first opened Wei Xingtian's introduction. Wei Xingtian, 25 years old, broke through to Danqi State a year ago and is classified as professional 8th pin. Majored in Bright Stone Skill, good at Giant Spirit Pounding Skill. Bright Stone Skill, a hard body skill. Starting from meditation, continuous spiritual visualization, external attacks, and medicinal soup and ointment are practiced. Not as good as Golden Bell Shield, Immortal Flesh, Cold Jade Tactics and other top physical skills and supernatural ability of metallized part of the body, but not to be underestimated. It is much better than Iron Shirt without visualization. The body is as hard as stone and can effectively reduce the damage of sharp weapons and resist the hit of sticks and so on. At this point, Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. In this case, the Bright Stone skill was equivalent to the divine skill of the police academy, the Golden Jade Body. After quickly browsing through the introduction, he clicked on Wei Xingtian's most recent performance video. He saw this dance stage expert violently hammering and smashing a piece of bluestone. Moreover, when he was facing a sneak attack with his eyes covered, he was able to react immediately and accurately counterattack as soon as his opponent made a move. The strength of the whole body is as one, just like the Big Dan of the human body, with absolute reaction. Lu Qing murmured to himself, gaining a clearer understanding of this. When one reached the deep level of the Danqi state, Kung Fu would not only enter one's bones and internal organs, but also every tiny part of one's body. One would have perfect control over one's skin and pores, making one's body a whole. One's senses would be so sharp that it was inhuman. One would be able to do all kinds of seemingly inconceivable things such as, not even a feather is added, not even a fly is left behind. Wei Xingtian had just entered the Dan stage, so obviously he had not reached this level yet. However, he could still see something from it. At his level, because of the transformation of the body from the outside to the inside, his own strength had become quite terrifying. Moreover, he could really go all out with every punch and kick. Unlike Lu Cheng and Lin Ke, who could control the body and twist the power of the whole body with the use of the waist and back as the axis, but the power that was actually used and sent out definitely could not reach 99%. Being able to use 60% or 70% of the whole body was already considered outstanding in the body refining state. Even so, it was still thanks to Lu Cheng's success in meditation and skillful skills. Lin Ke was close to the Dan stage, so it was very difficult for others to do the same. Wei Xingtian belongs to the strength type, unlike Jiang Lan, who I saw in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, who is more skillful and flexible. Just thinking about the power contained in one punch is frightening. Lu Cheng watched the battle video instead and grimaced. The only good thing was that his body was far from the profound level of Gang Qi condensation and subtle changes. He was still a human. If he used all his strength in every attack, he would not be able to bear it for long. After 3 or 4 consecutive attacks, there would definitely be problems and an overload situation. Therefore, unless it was a critical moment, he would not bear to fight like this. Normally, he would mix in ordinary attacks with occasional outbursts. And his ordinary attacks were almost as powerful as Jiang Guoxing's 7th or 8th outburst, which was the kind that Lu Cheng could only block with all his strength. Master lied to me. Just relying on me and Lin Ke to take turns to fight him, the hope of taking him down is not big. This is not a small goal. Shaking his head in grief and indignation, Lu Cheng looked at the information of the 2 professional 9th pin fighters, Dong Yi and Xiao Yang. The former had the family heirloom, Rolling Thunder Palm, while the latter had the nickname Mad Dog. His own master had specially commented that his fighting style was somewhat similar to the unique skills of the Death Sect. After roughly browsing through, Lu Cheng sent a scared to tears emoji to Yan Jika. Have you seen the information? Dan's stage is so scary. The newbie is trembling in fear. Yan Jika replied with a laughing emoji. Come, cry for me. Is there a reward for crying? Lu Cheng asked shamelessly. Yes, there is. The reward is a slap, Yan Jika joked and put on an emoji with her hands crossed under her chin. Let me tell you a piece of good news and a piece of bad news. What's the good news? Lu Cheng asked curiously. Yan Jika snickered and said, it is said that Xiao Yang of Fearless Squad was injured in the last preliminaries. He was injured? Why is it not in the information provided by Coach Shi? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Yan Jika used an emoji of spreading out her hands and shaking her head. Maybe Coach Shi doesn't like them and is too lazy to take the initiative to collect information. I just found their last match and found this out. Quickly say that Coach Yan is awesome. Coach Yan is awesome. Lu Cheng immediately replied and then asked thoughtfully, what's the bad news? Only 1 professional 9th pin left? His injury may not be serious. It's hard to say if he won't fight against us. Yan Jika replied with a laughing and crying emoji. Anyway, you don't need to care about this. If you can win 1 or 2 rounds of professional 9th pin battle, it won't be considered a failure. After all, the other side has a Dan stage master. Lu Cheng replied with an I'm scared emoji, but Coach Shi set a small goal for me. What small goal? Yan Jika asked with a bright and spirited emoji. He said that if your cousin and I face Wei Xingtian in our best condition, we will strive to take him down by attrition battle. Lu Cheng replied with a crying and clenching fist emoji. That's really a small goal. Yan Jika stared blankly and then said with a smirk, although the hope is not big, it's not completely impossible. Cheng, I have faith in you, I'll work hard. Lu Cheng replied with a determined emoji. Anyway, no one will find it strange if I lose, but he will lose face if he loses. Who's afraid of who? In the next few days, he practiced very hard. But whether it was Ice Mirror or Thunder War Zen, they were not martial arts that could be mastered overnight. They were not things that could be mastered by exploding the seed. It could only be said that the former still needed time, while the latter was getting better and better. As for the time with Yen Jika, because they were both busy with martial arts training and their own courses, they could not spend much time alone together. But they could often make eye contact, chat on the phone, have lunch and dinner together, hold hands, and occasionally take a stroll. He felt very satisfied and happy. Days passed, and in the blink of an eye, it was Friday afternoon. Lu Qing sat in the lecture hall, waiting for a politics-related public class to begin. This kind of public class did not involve professional content, and at the end of the term, it was usually open book, and the difficulty was not high. Most people could easily pass it, and it would not affect their job search in the future, so truants were everywhere. Lu Qing had planned to come with Kai Zongming, but after a week of hard work, he wanted to relax, so he shouted that a college life without truancy is not a complete college life, and chose to stay in the dormitory. To be honest, if Yen Jika's class was not a professional class, in a small classroom with only 30 or 40 people, and it was not easy to sneak in, he would have skipped class to accompany his girlfriend. Since he could not accompany his girlfriend, what was the difference between doing homework in the dormitory and doing homework in class? The latter was easier to concentrate. Just as he was thinking about this, he suddenly saw Zhao Chang coming in with a shoulder bag, so he waved his hand and greeted him, asking him to come and sit down. "Chang, why are you in this class?" Lu Qing asked in surprise. For a learning maniac like him, such classes were called self-study classes, and he would go to the library when he was supposed to. Zhao Chang put down his bag and laughed. "Isn't it the same everywhere? You don't have to worry about the roll call if you study here." "That's true." Lu Qing laid out his homework, intending to work hard and save time. But it was a large-scale public class with more than 200 people in 5 classes, and it was doubtful whether there were even 100 people in the class. "I guess it's time for the roll call." Zhao Chang looked around with a deep sense of anxiety. Lu Qing also looked around and nodded. "There are so few people, the professor will be angry." "It can't be helped. Since there are so many people, it's not a big deal if I'm not there. Besides, there are other students who can help, so they don't come. Besides, today is Friday." Zhao Chang was not surprised. He took out his phone, intending to call his roommates and ask them to study by themselves. Lu Qing also unlocked his phone and was about to call Little Ming. At this moment, Professor Yu, who was in charge of this class, walked into the classroom and took a deep look at the empty seats on the stairs. When the bell rang, he immediately turned around, closed the front door, and ordered his classmates to lock the back door. Then, under the gaze of pairs of blank eyes, he took out a stack of test papers from his briefcase and said loudly, "Today is a small test in class, an open book test. The score will account for 20% of the final score. The questions are very simple. As long as you do it, you can get 20 points. In other words, those who did not do this set of questions would lose 20 points at the end of the term." "Damn, you can do this." Lu Qing and Zhao Chang looked at each other, feeling a little lucky. They then observed a minute of silence for Talker and the others. After sending the message and fulfilling their responsibilities, they received the test papers. As expected, the questions were very simple. "Professor Yu has been planning this for a long time," Lu Qing exclaimed. Zhao Chang nodded. "And he didn't show any signs of it before. No wonder we heard that he was one of the famous detectives. We didn't believe it." As he spoke, he said with nostalgia, Professor Zhang, who taught calculus in the previous semester, was better. He never took attendance, and he was very upright. "What do you mean?" Lu Qing asked curiously. "Didn't Tang Wen fail calculus?" Thinking that the make-up exam was coming up, he went to the old campus last weekend and called Professor Zhang to give him some gifts so that he would miss the questions. Zhao Chang gossiped. "Professor Zhang didn't accept it?" Lu Qing suddenly realized. Zhao Chang laughed. Not only did he not accept it, he even made Tang Wen wait for him in the old teaching building and lectured him on the main points of calculus for the whole afternoon. He was so dizzy that he just wanted to cry. Professor Zhang is pretty good. Lu Qing sighed. It's not easy to find such a teacher. As they spoke, he shared the test as roll call incident with Yan Zhika. Yan Zhika replied quickly, our professor is even more perverted. There are 2 sections in one class and he takes attendance 5 times. But he's not as ruthless as your professor who takes 20 points in one go. After chatting for a while, he put down his phone and started to do the questions. Because he didn't listen to the lecture, his speed of finding the answers was very slow. Beside him, Zhao Cheng was writing at lightning speed. Lu Qing was surprised and couldn't help but ask, Cheng, have you seriously read the book? The book for this class? Zhao Cheng nodded seriously. I'm a real fan. On Saturday afternoon, the group from Songqing University Martial Arts Club arrived at Yimo's train station. While they were on the way, Geezer Sure told them to take an afternoon nap to recover their energy so that they wouldn't be absent-minded in the afternoon. Lu Qing helped Yan Zhika carry her luggage and walked out of the train station side by side. They saw the slightly gray sky and smelled the faint smell of coal smoke in the air. Yimo was an old industrial city, famous for its combination of coal and steel. The pollution index was on the high side. There were rich mineral resources here and the people were tough. You're tuning into the A Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.